Greetings, I'm Barrett and welcome to Meet Me at the Table. Today we're going to be starting our playthrough of Bardsung. That's right, this is a 1 to 5 player dungeon crawler that spans an entire campaign. I've been super excited for this one to come out and I'm excited to bring it to the table to show all of you. We're going to be playing with 3 characters. We're going to run through one of the adventures that's found inside the campaign book. There's also a way of playing with the narrative game as well. That's found inside one of the stretch goals box called the Fables, but we're going to be playing through one of the campaign missions. It's going to be one of the starter missions, so you're going to be able to see a little bit of what the story is and how the game is played without spoiling too much of it. I'm not doing the tutorial mission that a lot of other channels have shown. I will be putting a link to a couple other channels that have been putting out some great Bardsung content, so please check out those channels. There's branching paths throughout this entire campaign, and our path is going to be different from some of those other channels. I'm excited to bring this out to you. This game has so many great mechanics. It brings the best of all the different dungeon crawlers we've ever played and combines them into one massive game. This is going to be really cool. Of course, during the playthrough, if you do see any errors, please make sure you let me know. I'll put a pinned comment of all the different errors that I've made because there's a lot going on in this game, and I want to make sure that not only do you enjoy this game, but you're able to learn from this playthrough as well. So if you're excited to see our 3 characters, this adventure, and what could possibly be in store when you go into a dungeon, then I need you to meet me at the table. When setting up Bardsung, the first thing we're going to do is pick our characters. We're going to choose 3 different characters that we're going to play with. You could play with up to 5. If you ever play with less than 3, you're going to add in squire cards that are going to represent other heroes that are joining the fight, but they're not going to be fully flushed out heroes like this. And if you're ever playing just with a solo player, there's a second win card that is going to be used to represent the fact that this character's kind of got a lot of monsters and not very many actions. It gives that character an extra action. So you can play this game true solo if you want. We're going to be playing with 3 characters. The first one that we're going to use is Dawnguard. This is a cleric type character. Dawnguard has some things up here. The first one is speed. It's how many movement this person can do, which is 2. This is the modifier it's going to have when it gets attacked. It's going to use that modifier to protect itself. It has 5 health. Its attack modifier is 0. And in order to see if you critically hit the monster, it is going to be rolling a d6 and try to reach the target number of the monster. Here's an example of one of our enemies, the Brigand, and right here you notice this number here is its toughness. If our attack modifier is ever equal to or above the toughness, then we have critically hit the monster, and whatever action we're doing that has to do with damage, we're going to be using the critical hit thing. I'll show you right down here. For example, we've got Guiding Strike. You'll see how this all works during the playthrough. If we're ever able to hit our target number of our enemy, which is 9 for our Brigand, we're going to be doing the bottom one right here. Then we roll our attack modifier, and if, like I said, we get higher than that attack modifier of the enemy, then we're going to be doing our critical, and we're going to be doing some extra things as well. So that's what you see on the card. Also, there's a special power down here called Savior. When this hero attack pushes an enemy out of the zone containing another hero, replenish 1 fate. Fate is used to perform some really special actions. Later on in the game, we'll see some of our characters are going to have symbols on our cards here that are going to have to be used with fate in order to use them. For example, our Steadfast card right here. I didn't realize this character had one. It does. If you want to use Steadfast, you have to use one of your fate tokens, and you only start with 3. If you had 4 characters, you'd have 4 and 5 for 5 characters, but since we're playing with 3, we only get the 3 fate tokens. Of course, we'll be able to gain them back based on some of the things we've done in the game. So if we are able to push one out of a square, we get a fate token back, which, say we use the Steadfast, and then we decide to use something else that allows the character to be pushed, we'd get that fate token back. So you'll see those tokens going back and forth quite a bit. It's a really cool system to be able to use some really cool powers, but you can't use them all the time. It's pretty awesome. Next, we have our ability scores up here. They are strength, dexterity, wisdom, intelligence, constitution, and charisma. It's very similar to stuff you may have seen in some of the role-playing games that you may have played, but they use the same type of things here. These modifiers are going to enhance or de-hance whatever you're attempting to do based on your character class. For example, if we use Guiding Strike as our attack, we're going to be using this stat, charisma. So our charisma, when we roll, is going to give us a +2. You're going to find that on the back of our character cards. This person gets +2 to charisma and +1 to this stat right here. I need to go grab a token. Here we are, we get +1, and these are double-sided, so as you go up in gaining experience points, you can use those to better up your skills if you wish to, or your stats, I should say. You can also get better skills too with experience as well, and we'll go over these in just a second. You do start out with weapons and shields or armor. This person happens to have a sun shield and a blessed mace. You can kind of tell because it's red, so it kind of goes with the character. Down here it says at the start of an encounter, place 3 devotion tokens on this card. This hero can spend devotion tokens in place of fate. Oh, that's really good. On top of that, they can use devotion tokens inside some of their skill cards right here. Each of these skill cards are going to do different things. Some are going to be abilities and some are going to be passive. Here's a passive power. You can tell by the symbol right down here. This is our Fear of God. When this hero makes an exploration action after placing enemies, place 1 enemy in the previous tile on the Bardsung symbol. So then you're not overwhelmed by a whole bunch of enemies. You can actually get that one out of here. We also start with Steadfast. This is the one that's going to use our symbol. We can use one of our tokens if we wish to as well. And those are found right here. I have a pool of 4 of them, and this one does say at the start of an encounter place 3. So I'm going to grab 3. I'll put another one back, but at some point this character may be able to gain 4. Maybe if they upgrade their shield, because everything in this game can upgrade as you go through it, which is pretty cool. Steadfast, then the hero or another hero on the same tile is going to gain this bonus right here, and it's really hard to see some of these symbols right here, but that's one of the harder things in the game, is realizing what all these little symbols mean. And it's not because there's a lot of them, it's just that they're really small and I'm old. This means pinned. So I'm able to pin somebody. A hero or another hero on the same tile can get pinned. What that means is in the initiative order track, I could choose to put a person in the same place as they were before. This is the attack that Dawnguard has. And we'll go through a lot of the other guys faster than this. This is the attack is melee. It uses a weapon. It uses our charisma in order to do our damage here, or see if we hit. Then this is what's going to do it when it hits. It's going to push and do a wound. If we get a critical, it's going to push, do a wound, and it's also going to give us something. Another symbol, I'm not actually sure what it is. I can't make it out. It's going to inspire us, so it's going to flip over one of our fate tokens. And then penance. When we completed our original prelude mission, which we're not doing, we're going to be doing the first mission of the game. I don't want to do the introductory mission. Instead, what we were able to do when we finished it, it basically taught you the game, which was really cool. We got 3 experience points, and you're able to do whatever you want with those 3 experience points. One of the things you can do is buy new skills. You could choose to level up skills. For example, if I wanted Fear of God to be more powerful, I could spend the 3 experience points and flip the card to make this a more powerful power. In the book, it does tell you at the end, after that adventure, that most likely you'll want to pick up this power for Dawnguard. So that's what I've done. It says place a devotion token in the same or adjacent zone to an enemies in the same zone as the token. Reduce their speed to 0. Discard this token at the start of the hero's next turn. So that's going to be able to stop monsters from coming into our squares, which will help quite a bit. I've also set this character up, I think, a little bit wrong. Most of the time, you're just supposed to put these over here and all your skills kind of laid out. But for recording purposes, it's a lot easier to do it in this fashion. So that's our Dawnguard. We're going to go over other 2 characters, and we'll be doing it a lot faster now that I've explained what a lot of these things you see already are. The next character we're going to use is Nightfeather. Nightfeather is a rogue type character with 3 speed, 1 resilience, 4 health, no attack modifier, but it does get a D6 for its damage modifier, which is going to be pretty cool. On top of that, very dexterous, has an extra intelligence point here. Here are the starting equipment, which is found on the back of the card, along with the +2 and +1. It shows us that we get our Raven's Talon and Crow's Murder. We also get our starting abilities, Piercing Strike, Taunt, and Swift Reaction. The asterisk here has to do with the tutorial, so I'm not too worried about it. On top of that, you're able to put all the rest of the cards in here, which is pretty cool. Here are all the different skills that you could learn from this character. When we're deciding to level up and we decide to buy skills, these are all the different skills we could choose from. It's a little bit overwhelming, and if that's not enough to make it overwhelming, you can also cross-class in this game. Instead of paying 3 experience to learn a new skill, you can spend 4 experience to cross-class into any other class and grab that skill. I bet you can find some really cool combos with that concept in mind. Here are all the different skills and abilities this person has. Throwing knives, it has piercing strike, it has taunt, and swift reaction. Swift reaction is going to be our passive power. When this hero makes an explore action and is placed on a current tile, they can dodge, which means they'll be able to move back a square or forward a square, wherever they want to go. We do have our throwing knives. This is going to be our one that's going to use one of our fate token. It's modified with dexterity. It's a attack, and it's also, I think this is a range attack. Add +1 to the hero's attack range during this attack. So here you go, you get your +1 range here. So it can actually throw these knives, hence they're throwing knives. That's what those do. It has piercing strike, which again is going to be modified with dexterity. And it's a melee attack. If I hit, I get to dodge, so it actually doesn't do any damage. But if I crit, I do 2 damage and I get to dodge. But if I miss, I get to dodge as well. If the target is the only enemy in the zone, add +2 to the damage roll. So I do get a better chance of critting. So I get a d6 +2, which would be pretty cool. Then our last one, of course, is taunt, which is going to be the same type of stuff you see up here. But if I hit, I get to dodge. Critical, I get to hit and dodge as well. And if this attack hits after resolving the effect, the target can be placed in the same zone as this hero. So I could dodge and then move that character into my place. So now I'm by myself, and then I could hit him with this piercing strike and really do some damage. On top of that, Nightfall has a isolated target ability. If the hero critically hits an enemy that is only enemy in the zone, I get to replenish 1 faith. So that's kind of the combo you want to try with this character. Our final character is Skull Splitter. Skull Splitter is a barbarian. The first 2 characters you saw, Dawnguard and Nightfeather, are both from the core box, but Skull Splitter is from the expansion box, so I wanted to kind of mix it up a little bit. On top of that, the 3 characters you're seeing here today were voted on by my Patreons. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon, the link will be in the description of this video. One thing that they're able to do is be able to pick not only the games, but who plays in our games, also naming some of our characters if we need to, and you can choose what type of things we're going to do in some of our live painting episodes. For example, we painted up Skull Splitter. He is right here and ready to go. I painted him up, and we were able to get him, hopefully the colors that are there. I think he looks pretty sweet. I'll put him right there for right now. He's going to go on the board and look like that, but I do live painting videos that use our characters from you are going to see in some of the games that are coming up, which you can watch, and Patreons help me decide what we're going to be painting, which is pretty sweet. At the end of our tutorial adventure, we did get 3 experience points. Instead of getting a skill for Skull Splitter, I have decided to raise one of his attributes. In order to raise the attributes, you have to pay the cost of the next attribute allocation. Since he already has a +2 in strength, we're going to raise it to 3 by paying our 3 experience points. If you wanted to raise one of these to 1, it would cost you 1. If you wanted to raise it to 2, it would cost you 2, but you have to already have the 1 there before you go to the 2. You can't just pay 4 and put that up to a 4. You have to buy it in the increments of what it is. Now, of course, that doesn't mean you have to pay 1 and that's the end for that time. If you had 4 experience points, you could boost this up to a 2 without any problem by paying 1 and then 2, which would be a total of 3 experience points. He does have 3 abilities down here, 2 awesome attacks and 1 passive power here. So I don't need to worry about really getting a new skill for him from what I could tell. Though he does, of course, have the same amount of skills everybody else does. If Skull Splitter makes an explore action, replenish 1 fate each time Skull Splitter suffers a wound in the following round. So, of course, a barbarian doesn't mind if he gets wounded. He has Frenzy, which is very similar to some of the other things you've seen. He's going to be using his strength, so I'm going to be getting +3 to my attack. Remember, I want to hit with this guy, and I want to hit like a truck. That's going to be the plan. I can do damage, and I do double damage if I critically hit. He has 2 speed, no armor bonus, no attack bonus, but he will be getting his +3 when he uses his skills. He rolls a d10 to see if he can actually critically hit an enemy. That's amazing. And 7 health, which is absolutely out of control, probably some of the highest health in the game. During their turn, Skull Splitter can suffer wound to ignore the ability's fate cost. So if I want to, I could take a damage in order to use Frenzy. Unbelievable. This guy, I think, is going to be a ton of fun. Now that we have those characters all set up, we're going to place down our potion tokens. These are 3 potion tokens. If your character ever takes enough damage to die, instead of dying, you're going to flip one of these potion tokens. That person comes back, removes all damage and status effects, and continues the battle. in order to lose, well, I'd say in order to lose, but one way to lose is if we don't have any of these potions and somebody dies, that's it. And since it's a co-op game, if you lose one character, that is it. You are done. You've got to start. You have lost the encounter or the actual mission you're playing on. We do have toolkits. These are going to be used for different things during the game. One of them potentially could be looking for secret doors and things of that nature. This is firewood, where we're going to be able to build camp and potentially heal some of our characters if we have a lot, if we're actually in a tile where we can actually do that. Then we have our charm tokens, which are here. These we can use to flip over to reset all of our fate tokens if we need to. Right now we start with 3 fate tokens, and as we use them, we're going to flip these tokens back and forth, and hopefully we'll be able to get some back as we use them. If we're ever out of fate tokens, we really want to use one, we could use one of our charm tokens to flip those over. You can reflip these over by paying gold at the end of the adventure during the buy phase of the intermission, I guess you could say, between the different missions you're doing. Over here we have our decks of cards. We have our room cards, which are told to us by the game which to put in here. We have rooms 1 through 13, and during the game we're going to be told potentially to remove some of these or add other ones into them. It's kind of a cool way to advance the way the deck is set up. This is our treasure deck. We have these are corridor cards. In the game, from what I understand, you shuffle the entire deck of corridor cards. I have not shuffled it yet. As you can see, they're all still right in order. But when we get to game, we will actually be shuffling this up. These are the monster AI cards. We're not going to be drawing these. Each monster is going to have a specific card that you're going to pull out of here, and that's going to be the actions that they're going to be doing. For example, if we look again at the brigand, it's got this symbol down here. So you would look through your deck and find that symbol, and it's going to be probably the very first one or close to it. It's going to be right here. It would have ferocious. So there's our symbol. So this is the actions that enemy is going to carry out during the game. And each one could have its own, or it could have multiple that you're going to have to deal with while they're going to activate. Here are wound cards. You're going to take these if you get wounded. If you take a serious wound, you're going to flip it over and take the serious wound and have to deal with this. Some serious wound cards have these TN numbers. These are, and it's referenced in the book as TN, target numbers. A lot of these numbers are called target numbers. And you can use, at the beginning of your turn, a roll against the target number to be able to flip these back over, or some of them are going to have actual timers on them where you're going to have to deal with that for a certain amount of time based on what the card says. Then we have 2 different cards here. One is our Aspect Battle deck, and the other one is our Aspect Challenge deck. And these will be drawn based on whatever our cards are telling us to put out there. These are going to be more like events that you're going to have to deal with. And again, these are set up from going from C1 to 8. And then the mission we're playing has told us to put in certain cards to make it very thematic to what we're trying to do. We're going to go over what the scenario is after we get everything set up. And here's our battle one, same thing, 1 through I think 10 or 11 or something, and 12, 13, 1 through 13, and then I have 2 extra ones that are specific to this scenario. And as we play through that scenario, it might tell us to take these out, and they're going to be permanently removed from the game, continuing on throughout the adventure. As this game goes, it's going to branch off into many different paths throughout the campaign, and these decks are going to change based on what you've done in the campaign, which makes this super cool. The last thing we're going to do for the setup of this mission, which I will get to shortly, is we place down our characters in the starting tile here. We're going to place them all on this area right here where the stairs are. This game actually does have different sectors of the tile. It all looks like one tile. I know it's kind of a little disorientating. Here is our Dawn Guard. I have painted the character up like this. It's all this person's all set to go. Pretty sweet. These miniatures are all really kind of cool. I like them. And here's a Night Feather right here, painted up and ready to go. Super cool. Nice little thiefy looking character, and just right there on the tile. The tile has 3 separate areas, 1, 2, and 3. It's hard to fully make out how that works, but the cool thing is this game does come with this neat little sheet here that shows you how each one of these tiles is laid out. So if you can't quite figure out where the breaks are in all the different tiles, they do have them printed out on this neat reference sheet. Our characters are ready to go. Let's figure out what is going to befall our characters inside of Bardsung. Before I read the intro to our adventure, I do want to mention that the entire game is voiced by Foreteller, which is an amazing app that really brings the narrative to all of these new cool dungeon crawlers and narrative adventures to life. And no, I'm not getting paid by Foreteller to say that. I just think their company is amazing. So if you're interested in knowing anything more about Foreteller, I will put a link to Foreteller's web address in the description of this video. I'm not going to play the Foreteller thing I'm not sure if copyright restrictions allow me to do it. So instead, I'm going to read you what it is. If you have the Foreteller app and want to listen to it, feel free to skip this part and go right to the next part. But here we go. It says, the skies are painted a crimson hue by the time you draw close to your destination. The setting sun casting elongated shadows from behind the trees. Each is the silhouette of a dagger ready to strike, just as you are at the hobgoblins, though the rich color reflects warmth in your eyes rather than murderous intent. Your guides have long departed, years of ingrained fear, too much for them to bear. It's of little matter. The land has already begun to take a downward slope as you approach the depression, and you can follow the aged dirt path the rest of the way. You even have a map drawn by a vulnerable dwarven villager that claims to have ventured into the depths during his youth, complete with scribbles of where enemies are most likely to be hiding. Ahead, a mysterious figure awaits. They wear a long cloak with the hood drawn up to conceal their face. Greetings, heroes! Their voice is difficult to place, curiously flat, without concern. I commend your bravery this night, and the great undertaking you are about to make. Yet it occurs to me there is perhaps an alternative to the obvious path you follow now. Your enemies will doubtless have posted guards where they are encamped. Are you so eager to see their steel bard? The stranger gestures to a trail that departs from your current path, the stony gravel far older than the dirt you stand upon now. You notice their protruding finger is skeletal thin and extremely pale. Another route lies upon the stone paths yonder and amongst the ruins. Such passages might even yield precious treasures the fiends are yet to uncover. Surely such wonders might allow you the upper hand against them when you hunt them to their lair. Their piece said, the mysterious stranger abruptly departs, gliding down the path they indicated. I shall await you at the bottom, brave heroes. I suspect you and I shall become well acquainted this evening. You are now faced with your first choice. If you want to investigate the ruins and see if there's any truth to the stranger's claim, progress to Chapter 1. If you prefer to remain on the trail and hope the hobgoblins lead you to their captives, progress to Chapter 2. So here's the deal. I know that many of the playthroughs are probably going to do Chapter 1, so we're going to check out Chapter 2 just to make it different in case you're looking for other examples of how this game is played and what you can have in store for you. I do want you to know that this is a campaign game, so if you're doing Chapter 1 or Chapter 2 and you watch any of it, there could potentially be spoilers for you going forward. I just want that to be clear, though this is a huge book with a huge narrative going on inside it, so I don't think going through just one chapter is going to probably ruin the entire adventure for you, but I just wanted you to know that that is a possibility. Chapter 2, Hobgoblin Encampment. Despite the stranger's tempting words, you refuse to allow the hobgoblins to inflict yet more suffering upon the good townsfolk. Your duty this evening is clear, and you will not be swayed from your path. The only way this region can ever be safe is if you can seek out the creature's lair and tear this menace out by its roots. It's laughably easy for you to track your quarry. Hobgoblins are not considerate or stealthy creatures by nature, preferring brutality and force of arms to lead the way and spread fear before them. The bandits have left a trail of carnage behind them, discarded and bloodied possessions, slaughtered carcasses, and the stench of sweat and rotten flesh that surrounds every hobgoblin from birth until death. Before too long, it becomes obvious the path is not some meandering wave of chaos, but one with a deliberate destination as the ground beneath your feet continues to slope downwards, and the rough path leads to a tunnel choked by detritus. you realize that despite ignoring the stranger's words, your choice has still led to the threshold of the ancient forge. Clearly, fate had this destination in mind for you regardless. The next thing we're going to see is, again, how we're supposed to set up this adventure. So the card decks are going to change based on what we decided to do and what we've done in the past. For example, we have new cards to add to our challenge aspect deck. I kind of showed those off a little bit during the setup, but these are going to be added to the 1 through, I believe, 12 or 10 or 13 that we already have placed there. And if any cards are listed here that you can't find, you may have already added those to the decks. So don't be alarmed if a card here is not where it's supposed to be. Something in the game may have already triggered it to be in another place. Battle aspect decks, we're going to grab those 2 cards, add them to it. Then the Lost Treasure deck, we're going to retrieve the top 4 cards out of that huge deck and place them aside. This is going to be our Lost Treasure deck. So we have our 4 treasures, and we hopefully are going to come across them as we go through this dungeon. As we progress through this adventure, we're going to be gaining experience points based on the encounters we complete and the treasures we find. So we want to find some treasure, we want to complete some encounters, and we want to also complete the chapter to gain as much experience as we can so we can level up our characters and gain some new skills and hopefully advance our attributes a little bit. The only thing I have left to show you is this mess of a map that we got from the dwarf. All the adventures look like this, and they were a little confusing at first when I started dealing with them, but I eventually kind of figured it out. So each of these symbols inside of these triangles are going to be the type of adventure or you're going to go on. For example, these are your simple dungeon delves. You're going to go from the southernmost point of the board and try to get out through the north part of the board. That's how this works. Down here are going to be scripted type of encounters. That's what this is. And there are going to be other ones other than these 2 that you see on this map as you continue through the campaign. I think there's like 6 or 7 different types of ways that the encounters are going to play out, or at least the board and monsters are going to hit. On top of that, you're going to see 2A, 2C, 2B, 2D. Those are just telling you that that's the different types of ones that you're going to, these are the different, are just signaling that these are different nodes. This staircase up there is where you're going to start. This shows you how many treasures are going to be inside of that node. Also, there's going to be scripted moments as well as you go. So say we get done with this one, we're going to read, we could decide to go this way and read 300, or we could go this way and read 272. It's up to us. But these arrowed paths mean we cannot go back this way once we go that way. Though, if we go down this path, we could go back up here because there isn't an arrow in either one of these directions. But down here, you're going to see this is the ending. So we're not going to be able to go anywhere else, unless, of course, the game tells us we can. I have no idea what could possibly be happening. But I just want you to bear in mind that that's how this book looks. It was a little weird when I first looked at it because I'm like, that's not how, I don't understand how you set this up. But once I started reading and understanding it, it made a lot more sense. Also, at the bottom of the book, it's going to show us what enemies could potentially appear on our dungeon cards and our wandering monsters that could potentially happen. So we've grabbed these 2 monsters and these 2 events out of the decks that they're supposed to be coming from. And if our echo token, which is right here, ever reaches us, we're going to have to deal with one of these wandering monsters. On top of that, we have our terrain that might also be on some of the cards, and if a terrain appears, it is going to be a banner, and we'll deal with that when we actually come to it. While I was showing you that book, you may have noticed this small token sitting inside this giant square. Not sure why these squares have to be this big for that small little token. But be aware, this is your reputation track. This game does have a reputation system, and if you ever gain goodwill, it's going to be moving up, and if you ever gain corruption, it's going to be moving down. Corruption and goodwill technically aren't necessarily good or bad, it's just the way you decided to go through the adventure. I've panned out quite a bit just to show you how big this board is. So our goal is to get from here, and we're supposed to make a tile touch or go a little bit past that line from how I understand it. In this actual mission here, it did show that there's 1 treasure. If you notice, there's these little Bardsung symbols all over this board, and there's a big one right in the middle. We're going to take our treasure token, and we're going to place it in the one farthest north. And if you notice here, our compass up here is going to tell us that north is right up there. So I'm going to take this token, drop it down here, and as we're playing through the game, if we're able to make the dungeon touch that token, that treasure token will enter the dungeon, and we're going to be able to gain it if we go onto the spot where that dungeon token is on the tile. We have our stuff all set up. We're going to begin our dungeon delve. This is going to be super fun. Thank you for sticking around for the entire setup. I know there's a lot, but here we go. It's time to see what happens to our adventurers. It's time to play Bardsung. To start, we're going to take all 3 of our initiative cards, flip them over and shuffle them up. Oh, they're all different, the same color on the other side. See, this is a little problem here. Really? So basically you just look away while you're shuffling these up, and then after that you just drop them down on the board, ready to go. Here's number 1. So Skull Splitter's going first, Dawn Guard is second, and Night Feather is going to be third. Every time it is your hero's turn, the first thing they can try to do is attempt to flip over one of their serious wound cards. Of course, we haven't taken any serious wounds yet. Hopefully we don't get any. I'm not a big fan of serious wounds. At this point, we can then do 2 actions. The actions you can choose are either to move, use an ability, explore, or open or close a door. Yes, that's right. These doors can open and close, these neat little 3D doors. I haven't had a chance to paint these up yet. They're sadly also a little impractical for how huge they are on top of these little tiles, but that's okay. We're going to use them. I think they're kind of cool. But in some of the future playthroughs, I might not use these because they're a lot out of control. But for now, they're going to use them. So we have our Skull Splitter moving first. He is on this first set area here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our first action to explore. Whenever you're in a room, you're then going to draw a corridor. Whenever you're in a corridor, you're going to draw a room. So we're going to take the top card from our corridor deck and we're going to flip it over and take a look. So we have found a 4-way passage. So we're going to be able to place this any way we want. If there is a blue symbol in one of these arrow marks, that would mean that that would be the exact place you have to place it. But since it isn't, I can place this however I want. So we're going to grab that tile and place it out on the map. We're going to take our tile and place it down just like this so it matches up right here. And we're able to, then since we explored, we automatically move into that room 1 space. If we look at the bottom of this, we are going to be grabbing one of our challenge aspect cards. We've gone ahead, shuffled the deck up, and here's our top challenge aspect card. It said, Frightened Traitor. You see a traitor, the type of mercenary soul that cares little for the buyer. He looks worried. Has your reputation preceded you? If the reputation track shows 2 or more corruption, replenish a healing potion, firewood, or toolkit token. If the reputation track shows less than 2 corruption, the heroes can spend 10 gold to replenish a healing potion, firewood, or tool token. That's kind of funny. Return this card to the vault. The vault means that this card is going back to the box. It may come out again in future missions, but for this mission we're doing, or any future missions that don't ask for this card is now completely gone from that deck. With our first action completed, I'm going to use our second action to just move right over there, and that'll be it. And I lied. If we look at our tile, this is why some of the tiles are weird. This is the only thing separating the 2 different zones of this tile. So this is all considered one zone and a second zone. So for my second action, I could either, I'm going to move over to here. Remember, our goal is kind of up over there. I want to get that treasure. So I think if we go up, we'll find our next room up here and then hopefully continue down that way. At least that'll be our plan. We'll see if it happens. I'm going to put this card to the side. We don't mind to worry about that one. Dawn Guard is our next person to go. Dawn Guard is going to use 1 action to move 1, 2, and then Dawn Guard will explore. But this time we'll be exploring a room. So we'll draw our first room card and see what we have found. We found a giant room with a whole bunch of symbols. So let me start explaining what this is. First, we're going to be using a battle aspect card. Then we're going to see if there's any blue arrows here. There are not, so I can orientate this any way I want to that could be advantageous to myself. Next, the symbols that we see circled are used for 4 to 5 player games. So we're not going to be worrying about those symbols. So the other symbols are going to be what enemies spawn onto this tile. This right here could potentially be that terrain we have to do. So let's consult our book and see what we have to deal with. If we look at our enemies and we look at the card, it looks like we're going to be fighting 2 brigands, which are right here. Then we're going to be fighting 2 raiders, which are going to be right there. And then our last one is going to be, it's going to be a reaver, is going to be right here. So that's what the enemies are. And then we do have our symbol here that does show that our banner is going to be in play as well for the terrain. So we'll place down our 2 brigands in the back here. And I've got these brigands painted up. They look pretty cool. I like the way that they actually turned out. These are really cool looking miniatures, and I kind of made it a little bit different. I put a green thing on that guy. It's pretty neat. I haven't got a chance to finish their bases yet, but for now, they're as good as they're going to get. Then we do have a couple of our raiders. They're right here. These are what the raider guys look like. Again, kind of painted up these little bows. One is going to be found in that area there, and right here it is divided. As you can see, these wood are going to be dividing some of the things. So there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 different places you can stand in this room. And here's the other one right here. That one's going to be in that spot there. Now, sadly, I haven't gotten painted up the Reavers yet, but that's okay. We'll get to them very soon. I apologize for that, but that's okay. There's a lot of miniatures. Not wanting to get to this game because I was having so much fun playing just the intro part of this, so I'm really excited to do this. We're going to move this character into here. They automatically move into the portal from where they came from, and that's going to signal a change in the marching order. So we have to now add these enemies to the cards and reshuffle the deck and do it again. I know our character down here has not moved yet, but that's okay. It all kind of balances out in the end once you'll see how this works, but it is sad that this person didn't get to go. And not only that, she loses her second, or he, I apologize, he or she loses the second action that they have as soon as these monsters are placed on the board. Now that our enemies are placed, we're going to draw a battle aspect card because of that symbol down there on this tile. We're going to draw number 7, I guess. It says Deep Pockets. It seems this mob may have just returned from a successful raid. Place a number of time tokens on this card corresponding to the number of heroes. There are 3 to 4 heroes, 2 time tokens. During the end phase, discard a token from this card. If there are no tokens to discard, discard this card. If the card is still on the marching order when the last enemy is defeated, the heroes gain 3 gold. Oh, that'll be pretty sweet. Notice there are some symbols down here. Each one of these symbols correspond with a particular type of action. The first one here is immediate. It's the same one that our trader had, that frightened trader. If you notice, that one was lit up with a little symbol here, so it's immediate. This is not an immediate one. This one is a sustained one. So that's what that means. This card is placed next to the tile, and rules on this card are consistent with what is going to be to keep it sustained. And we have these tokens we have to deal with. The next one is a delayed. We'll place this one of the delayed slots at the end of the marching order, and we'd be resolving something in that aspect. This is not a delayed one. And lastly, we also have engagement. This will always appear in addition to one other symbol above. This indicates that the card is discarded if all enemy cards are removed from the marching order. So this will be laid out right here next to the board. We'll put 2 time tokens onto it, which are on the flip side of our wound tokens, which is kind of cool. We got time token on one side, wound on the other. So we're going to put down 2 time tokens, and I'm hoping to fill this board with wound tokens. That's my goal. And we'll see if we can actually do that and take out these guys. The final thing we have to do is place down our banner token right here in accordance to our card. We had it noticed, it is right up in this area with the bandit brigands here. We have the brigands with the banner. What that banner does is the first enemy card to become exhausted each round will suffer stop, which means it'll go all the way to the back of the line. After that, it will be then exhausted. Heroes in the same zone as this banner token can use an action to discard the token. What that means is when the first enemy that in this group actually activates, after it activates, it's going to go to the back of the initiative order and activate again at the end of the turn after everybody else is gone. So it's kind of like getting an extra turn. So we have to try to get rid of this banner, but I have to spend an action, and there can't be anybody in the square to do it. So I don't know how we're going to get to that banner right away. We might have to deal with the consequences, at least for now. At this point, I get to use my Fear of God. When this hero makes an exploration action after placing enemies, place one of them on the previous tile's fate symbol here, this Bardsung symbol. So I'm going to place one of them there. I think I'm going to place one of the raiders. Let's get one of the raiders out of here. I'm going to put him right there. Maybe we can take him out real quick. That'd be pretty sweet. We're now going to take all of those new enemies that we have in here along with our cards, and we're going to shuffle them up, give them a quick little truffle shuffle here, and we're going to place them out on the initiative track. Now, I think in the future, I'm going to use an opaque back sleeves. I haven't had a chance to sleeve all these cards yet, and I really want to, and I think the best plan would be to use opaque sleeves on the enemies and your activation cards so that you don't know what's coming out here. Otherwise, you have to just look away. That's what I'm doing, looking away. All right, we'll give them a truffle shuffle here and put them down. Our Our first one is going to be the Raiders, then Dawn Guard, followed by the Brigand, Night Feather, the Reaver, and lastly is going to be Skull Splitter. I was really hoping Skull Splitter would really split some skulls. That would be really good, but instead we've got the Raider. Let's check out what that character does. So we have 2 speed. It has a 4, in order to get a critical hit, that's its like resistance. It'll die if it takes 2 wounds. Every time something takes 2 wounds, you reference this right here. This means death. This does not. This means it's going to heat up, and you're going to flip this card. If you notice, the initiative order had a different side, which could change what the character does. The next thing we have is how much gold you're going to get when this is removed, not per character that you kill. It's per card that is removed from the marching order. Then we have what the character is. It's, I believe, like a hobgoblin. This is what it has for range, so it does have 2 range. It's going to do 1 damage if it hits. These are going to be the AI cards that it's going to use. So if we grab both of those AI cards, the first one we have is Cautious, and that was on top, so we'll start with that one. And you're going to do 1 action per set of brackets here. There is only 1 set of brackets, so we're just going to attack the closest hero. So that can happen, so we're not going to do the move until the closest hero is in attack range. So let's take a look at the board and figure out who the Raiders are going to attack. The Raiders will be following this behavior. It'll start with this one and then move to that one. The first one it is going to do is Cautious. It has that symbol there. So it is going to perform these right here. If it's an orange, it is mandatory. It has to do the action. And with these brackets here, it does one of the things in the bracket, starting from the top going down. So the first one says, attack the closest hero. It can do that because the Raider has a range of 2. And we have this one here, so attack the closest hero. It's going to attack Dawn Guard. This one is going to attack Skull Splitter. Or it could attack Featherweight or Night Feather right here because it is also 1 square away. When there's a tie between who it's going to fight, it will go towards whoever is highest in the initiative order. So in this case, it actually is going to be Night Feather. Night Feather is closest in the initiative order and is equal distance from this enemy when making its attack. At this point, we'll see if we're able to block this attack. You're always going to use the target number for both attacking and defending. So we need to roll higher than a 10 in order to defend against this Raider's attack. The first person that will be attacked is Dawn Guard. Dawn Guard does have +1 to the roll found on the card here. So we'll roll up our die and see what we get. We get a total of 14, so that's going to be a 15, which is higher than that, so we're not going to get a hit. Night Feather will be next. Night Feather also has +1 to the roll, so we'll see how that goes. It also got a 15, so it gets a 16. That's so good. So the Raider did not hit either of us. That's the end of its Cautious attack because it is only going to fulfill 1 thing found inside this bracket. Once that's done, we'll go to the second part of its AI step, which is found down here. That is called Retreat. If this enemy is in the same zone as a hero, it moves up to its speed value toward the closest zone that doesn't contain a hero. If the enemy doesn't have sufficient speed to reach a valid zone, it does not move. So that's going to be the end of the Raider. We'll see if it's going to move, but I think it's not. There are nobody in either one of the squares that it's in. And as you can see, I was right. There's nobody in his zone and nobody in his zone and when it comes to being heroes. So these are not going to do any type of retreat. We'll move to the next character. The next character in initiative order is Dawn Guard. The first thing Dawn Guard is going to do is Dawn Guard is going to use Steadfast. This hero or another hero on the same tile gains pinned. I'm going to use one of our fate tokens here to become pinned. This is an ability here. During your actions, you can perform 2 actions. You can do 2 ability actions. You can do 2 move actions, or you can do 2 explore actions. You can do any 2 actions you want. The thing is, you can never do the same ability twice. So I couldn't use Steadfast twice, but I could do Steadfast and let's say Striking Guard or Guarding Strike, or I could use Penance or any of my other abilities. You can just never use the same ability and card twice. So for this one, we're going to use Pinned first. What that means is we're going to take this token and place it there. When I shuffle up this initiative deck, Dawn Guard will be second, no matter what, which is pretty sweet because there's a lot of characters in this fight, and being able to go second will not only potentially bring targets towards this character, but also have this character be able to act hopefully before some of the enemies next time we go. Now that's the first action Dawn Guard is going to do. The second one is going to be a move action. And I may have a plan, we'll see if it works. Before we move, I am going to flip over our fate token. We did have to use one in order to use our steadfast card. I'm going to move her or him back into here, and that's going to be the 2 actions that Dawnguard is going to perform. At this point, the next character in line is going to be our Brigand. So we're going to check this AI to see what it does, or I should say behavior card. This is going to be its range. Let's see if it's attacking. Our ferocious AI card says, attack hero in the same zone. That's not going to happen. There's nobody in the zone. Next we have charge. Charge a hero in an unengaged zone. Well, here are some heroes in an unengaged zone, so they could charge them. Our Brigand has a total of 2 speed, so it's not going to be able to make it because it's going to have to go 1, 2. Those are 2 separate tile areas here, or 2 separate zones. We're going to then move to the third one. Charge a hero in an engaged zone. Again, it can't do that, so it's just going to move toward the closest hero. So we're going to move 1, 2, and 1, 2. Now that the Brigand has gone, they're going to exhaust. One thing I didn't do for these 2 is it does say in the rules that once you complete a character or a person in the initiative track, you should flip them 90 degrees to show that they have done their actions. Instead, I'm going to use these just so I can keep all the cards in line. So these 3 characters have gone. Remember, this one is going to be able to take advantage of the banner, so it's going to get stopped. It's going to move all the way to the back of the initiative order and be able to activate again. This is where I'm a little unclear. Do all these slide up? And if so, does this one get pinned to the top, or would it get pinned to number 2? For the way we're going to play for now, I'm not exactly sure how that's going to go, so I'm just going to pin it to 2, and that's how we're going to resolve this issue. This Brigand has gone. It's going to be Night Feather. I'm just going to drop the token now to show that we're going to be using Night Feather in our next move. Night Feather is behind closed, or an open door, I should say, which I was really hoping to close, but sadly we found an absolute monstrous amount of monsters. Monstrous amount of monsters. Oh, I'm pretty good. We're going to use our action first to move into that square. Then we're going to attack this Raider using our Piercing Strike. This is going to be a melee attack, and it uses dexterity in order to add to our attack roll. We're looking for a critical, I hope, because that would do a lot of damage. And it says here, if the target is the only enemy in the zone, add +2 to the damage roll. So we're going to be able to do that. There is only 1 target in the zone. And this is an ability that you have to use. It is not a passive ability. The passive abilities have this symbol right here. So we're going to be using our Piercing Strike and see if we can take this guy out. Our Raider has a target number of 10. Here's our Piercing Strike. I'm going to be able to add 2 because of our dexterity. I do want to mention here that when I was explaining the characters, I mentioned that this was the amount I'm going to be able to gain towards my attack. That's false. This is the range value of characters or enemies. What you're going to use to decide how you're going to add or subtract numbers from your roll is based on the symbol inside the abilities you're using. For example, this one is going to use Dex. Our character does have +2 Dex, so we'll see if we're able to hit the Raider. We got a 17. So +2 is 19. That's easily over 10, so we're able to hit the Raider. At this point, we are going to see if we're able to break his resilience here. I'm sorry, not resilience, his toughness. His toughness is a 4. Night Feather is going to be using his modifier here of a D6. This is a really cool system. I'm going to be rolling a D6. I need to get a 4 or higher. If I do, the attack is not a hit, but a critical hit. That is the deal. So we're going to roll this up and see how it goes. I got a 4, which does meet or beat that, so it is a critical hit. On top of that, remember, we had this down here where I get to add +2 to the damage roll, so this is actually a 6, which means we get the critical hit, do 2 damage, and we also get to dodge. What that means is I'll be able to move one or place myself into an adjacent area or adjacent zone to this attack. We've done 2 damage. Whenever you do 2 damage, you're going to check to see up here what is going to happen to our monster. Our monster's grit is a death symbol. So when this one gains 2 damage, it will die, which is fantastic. Our Brigand is destroyed, and we'll remove him from the board. We'll remove this Raider from the board and move him over here. I will dodge into this adjacent location over here. Oh, it's kind of, maybe I might not, because if I can get this door closed, that would be really beneficial to us. I think I am going to remain there. We're going to see how the rest of this combat plays out. I might have to move him in. We'll see how it works. Night Feather has completed their turn. We're moved to the Reaver. The Reaver is going to use its Disciplined maneuver here. It also has its Ganged Up ability. Enemies with another enemy in the same zone gains powerful attack on their attacks. Now, sadly, I will say these symbols are really small on these cards, sadly, with my 40-plus-year-old eyes. It's kind of tough to see sometimes. Oh, but we're going to be able to do a powerful attack for enemies with another enemy in the same zone. When we move this around, I think that's not really going to take place, but I will tell you that powerful attack gives defense rolls disadvantage against the attack. If we had other people in, we'd probably have to deal with that. But let's check out our disciplined card here. Our disciplined card says, attack the hero in the same zone. There isn't one. Then it's going to charge the hero in an engaged zone. There aren't any engaged enemies or zones. Then we're going to charge a hero in an unengaged zone. Our Reaver here has a move value of 2. According to our card, so it's going to move 1, 2 into this unengaged zone and make an attack. And it will attack the person that is farthest up the initiative track, which will be our Dawn Guard yet again. The Reaver's target number is an 11. I do get +1 to this roll. I got a 12, which does mean that he does not hit me. If he did hit me, I would take 1 damage. We'll place a exhaust token on him. Super excited how this is going so far. We're going to use Skull Splitter next, and this is going to be super, super fun. It's time to split some skulls. Looking at Skull Splitter, we do notice this symbol here on his power called Frenzy. Remember when I said you could not do the same ability twice? Well, this is going to break that rule. It's called Chain Attacks. A chain attack represents the hero making flurry of rapid blows. Unlike a normal ability, the chain attack can be made up to twice per turn. So I could use this card twice if I wish to. In addition, after resolving the chain attack that hit an enemy, the hero can spend a fate token if I wish to immediately make the same or another chain attack as a free action. So he could make a massive amount of attacks just swirling this axe around. It sounds really cool. Chain attacks made as free actions can't generate extra attacks though. And the most attacks a person can ever make in any turn is 6. Yeah, 6. If I ever did 6 attacks in one turn, that would be an epic, epic maneuver. I don't think we're ever going to see that, at least not now. But what we're going to do is, just to keep this simple, I'm not going to use our chain attacks, but I do want you to know that that is what that symbol is, and that's how that works. We're going to activate our Wild Swipe, and then we're going to activate our Frenzy. And we're going to have to pay our Fate token in order to do that, unless I want to use Skull Splitter's ability here that says during their turn, Skull Splitter can suffer a damage to ignore the ability's Fate cost. Well, we have quite a bit of Fate. We have 2, and we do have Night Feather's ability that fired off that I forgot to use. It says, if this hero critically hits an enemy that is the only enemy in the zone, replenish 1 fate. We did do that. We took out a raider, so I am going to take our exhausted fate token and flip it back over, but then I'm going to flip it right back over because we're going to use it to do our frenzy attack. Let's see how this all goes. Our Reaver has a target number of 11. Remember, we were able to boost up Skull Splitter's strength to a 3, and this uses strength to see if it's able to do a hit. So roll this up. I got a 17, so that's a 20. It's not a natural 20, it's what they call a dirty 20, I guess. But if you're able to get actually a natural 20 when you make the attack, that's an auto critical wound. You don't even have to roll to see if you're able to critically hit them. But that, alas, did not happen. We got a 17 plus 3 is a 20. At this point, we will check to see Skull Splitter's damage modifier, and he's going to be rolling a D10, which is absolutely out of control. Talk about splitting skulls. This guy's a monster. I need to get a 4 or higher in order to critically hit him. I got an 8. So that means our critical hit is going to go off, which means we have done 2 damage. If we look here, the grit for this character is going to mean that we are going to flip his card to the other side, which is going to change how this monster fully reacts. It's going to be, I believe it's called Fired Up or something to that nature. Again, we keep the same 2 and the same, what is it, the endurance here. Then next here is our grit is going to be killing him, and if we remove him from the board, we gain 2 gold. Also, if you notice, his hit has changed to a serious wound as opposed to just doing actual wounds. And his modifier has changed. There's a lot of really cool things that happen when you're fighting these monsters. But hopefully we just see a dead monster here, because we are going to move into our next attack, which is going to use our Frenzy ability. And at this point, I'm then going to spend that Fate token, so we have 2 left. We'll roll up our die. We got a 16 plus 3 is 19. So we did hit the Reaver. Let's see if we were able to critically... Oh, you bet. Guy's toast. We did 2 more damage. 2 damage now is going to show that he will be dead. So we're going to remove him from the board. We were able to take out the Reaver. Oh my gosh, this Skull Splitter is so good. Having defeated the Reaver will give us 2 gold. I'll place that with Skull Splitter, though it's a pool of gold from what I understand. You can use it to replenish some of the tokens that you get in this game. Also, later in the game, you might be using it to potentially upgrade items or something of that nature. I don't know if that is the case. I haven't played anything more than the tutorial, but I do know that the normal rules for gold is going to be to power up these tokens. So, for example, if we use one of these tokens, we could spend our gold to replenish, for example, our healing potions or our toolkits or things of that nature. That's the end for Skull Splitter. We will exhaust him, and at this point we have our Raider again that is going to attack. And again, the Raider will use his cautious attack, which means he will attack the closest hero. Well, that's going to be Dawnguard yet again, because she's up here and she is the closest hero to the only Raider left on the board. Seeing here, our Raider is back there and 2 squares away, so it will attack Dawnguard, being closer in the initiative order. We need a 10 in order to block this attack. We got a 7. We get to add 1 as 8. That's not quite enough. So we're going to take one of our wound cards and give it to Dawnguard. Dawnguard has a total health value of 5. Once we take 5 damage, we would be defeated. Of course, we would be using a healing potion then in order to bring that character back so that we don't fail the mission. At this point, we have done every action with everybody we can. Everybody is exhausted. We'll move into the end step. This means we'll start by checking to see if there are any condition tokens for the heroes or enemies. There aren't any in this particular case. Resolve any delayed aspect cards at the end of the marching order, moving left to right. From what I understand, let me just check our pickpocket deep pockets card here and see what it says here. During the end phase, discard a token from this card. If there are no tokens to discard, discard this card. So at this point, we will discard one of our tokens. There's only 1 token left. Then we will go to make an event roll. There are 2 things that could happen during this event roll. First, if there's any dangerous terrain or hazardous terrain on the map, it would activate on a roll of 6. You're rolling a d6, by the way. And if I get a 1 or 2, I fail what is technically called the event roll. And if that happens, the echo token that is off the board at this point will then be placed onto the board, and after that, it would, if you roll it again, it would move 1 full area towards the closest hero on the map. Areas are basically any place that is in between unlocked doors. So this entire thing here is considered an area at this point. If I were to close this door, which is what I've been trying to do, but I keep having to deal with these monsters, that would be this area, and then there'd be a second area up here. So we want to try to keep as many areas between us and this echo token that we can. Let's go ahead, roll up our event roll, and see what happens. We got a 2, so that is Bad News City. We are going to place our echo token into the dungeon. The first time you do fail the roll, it goes right onto the starting tile. If I fail it again, it will move 1 area towards the closest hero. Once that's completed, we are going to shuffle up the initiative order. And again, I'm not sure if Dawnguard should be second or first. That is a really weird rule here based on that stop mechanic from the banner. I'm going to leave it second. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. I could go either way on this one, that these slide up or down, but I don't think it says anything about anything sliding around. It just says it moves to the back, so I still think that person will be second. That's the way I'm going to play it. We'll shuffle these up and, of course, not look and get some card protectors in the next video so that I don't ever see what these are. Though the problem is some of those characters do flip over back and forth. All right, our first person to go is going to be our Raiders again. Then Nightfeather, Skull Splitter, and finally our Brigands are going to go third. So let's start with our Raiders and see what they can do. Good news, there's only 1 on the board. Good news, we know what it's going to do because it's going to do the same thing it did at the very end of the last turn. It's going to fire at Dawnguard right there. We'll see if we can block the attack. We got a 6 + 1 is 7. That again is not a block for Dawnguard. I'm going to take another wound. We're at 2 out of 5. The Raider is finished. Before I exhaust him, I do want to talk about this. This means this character has physical vulnerability. I should have been rolling with advantage against the Raider when making physical attacks. So when Nightfeather did make that attack, I should have been rolling with advantage, meaning I get to roll 2 20-siders, not 1. That's okay. We still killed that Raider. I just want to make sure you understand that. And going forward, I'm going to make sure I do that because, hey, all the advantage I can get is good. We'll move to Dawnguard. Dawnguard is going to be unpinned, but it's now going to be that character's turn. Let's see what they can do. Dawnguard is going to move down here, and for the second action, close this door. That echo token is scaring me. So we're going to close the door to prevent ourselves from being all in one area. Dawnguard finishing the turn, we'll move to Nightfeather. Nightfeather is going to move 1, 2 to right here. And I want to make sure you understand you can have as many characters in a zone as you want. There is no limitations to what is the size of the map. From here, they're going to use, or the character's going to use a throwing knife. I'm going to have to use one of my fate tokens, so that means we will be exhausting our second fate token to use this attack. I'm going to be able to use my dexterity, and I get to add +1 range to the hero's attack range during this attack action. I do want to mention that I'm going to be firing at this character here, this raider. I am not going to be getting any type of opportunity attacks. That's not anything in this game, nor is there any type of line of sight or range or line of sight issues in this game. You can, if you're within range, you can target the character as far as I can understand from everything I've been reading. So we're going to just target the raider, hopefully take this raider out, because this raider is also going to be taking advantage of this banner at the end of the turn. So if we can get this guy out of here, this character will not be stopped and put at the end and attack again. We don't like to be attacked twice in a turn. It's no fun. So let's see if we can take him out. With our Raider's vulnerability to physical attacks, we'll roll up 2 dice, see how it goes. I got a 12 and a 9. I'm definitely taking the 12, which is enough to hit. Then we'll see if we can break the toughness by rolling a d6 that Nightfeather has. Nightfeather got a 5. Yes, that's enough to do it. So we're going to be able to critically hit with our throwing knife, which is going to do 2 wounds. And according to the grit over here, with 2 wounds, that Raider is dead. Oh my gosh, these guys are awesome. We'll remove the Raider from the board, and we get to activate Nightfeather's ability. If the hero critically hits an enemy that is the only enemy in a zone, replenish 1 fate token. We're back to 2 fate tokens, which is going to be awesome. On top of that, we are removing this initiative card from the row, so we're going to gain the 1 gold. We'll put this with Nightfeather, because, you know, everybody's going to collect the gold they make. Even though it might be a pooled force here, or pooled group of gold, it's still fun to see who gets the most by the end of the game. Spoiler alert, I think I know who it's going to be. Speaking of who it's going to be, Skull Splitter is going to go next, and he's going to try to take out both of these brigands. He's going to move into the zone where the brigands are, and at this point, he is going to activate that frenzy ability with the chain attack. So from how I understand this chain attack works, he'll be attacking with frenzy. If he hits, I can spend a fate token to do the same attack or a different chained attack. I'm going to use the same attack because it's the only one I got. So let's see if we can take out hopefully both of these brigands in one fell swoop here. Our brigands have a 9. We'll see if we're able to hit. I got a 6, but I do get to add 3, which is a 9. That's enough. Now remember, he gets to roll a d10 in order to see if he critically wounds. And he does critically wound, and the grit on this character is death. So we'll be removing one of our brigands from the board. And after resolving a chain attack that hits an enemy, I can spend a fate token to immediately make the same or another chain attack as a free action. I am going to use the same one. So I'm going to have to pay the 1 in order to make the frenzy attack. Then I'm going to chain it again and use another one to use the next frenzy attack. Let's roll our d20 and see if we're able to hit. I got a cocked eye. I got a 18. 19, 20, 21. We were able to hit. Let's see if we were able to take this guy out. I got a 4. That's definitely over his toughness. Again, we did 2 damage because of our critical here, meaning we were able to take out the brigand. Now remember, I have absolutely no fate tokens remaining. I used them all. So we were successfully able to defeat all the enemies, but at the cost of all of our fate tokens. To do all of that, it did cost us all our fate tokens. I think I will use his ability. During their turn, Skull Splitter can suffer damage to ignore an ability's fate cost. So I'm going to ignore the ability's fate cost for Frenzy and take the damage. So we're going to be able to replenish one of the fate tokens. Now, something I'm not too sure about when it comes to the way this works is I had 2 unused fate tokens. I used 1 to activate the Frenzy ability. Once that hit, I chose to use the chain attack and use the second one to activate, again, the frenzy ability in order to attack with the chain attack. I'm not sure if I have to pay this cost on the frenzy card in order to, on top of paying for the chain attack, being able to do the free attack. I'm going to say not. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. And if so, I would have probably just taken another damage. So if all's said and done, if I make it through this just barely and should have probably and had 6 damage on this character, we might have to revisit this. But for what we're going to do now, I'm going to be able to keep one of my fate tokens up and just take the damage on the second activate or the first activation of frenzy, so that when I spent my second token, I could use the fate token from there to use the chain attack. I hope all that made sense. Removing our Brigand card from the board does give us 1 gold. Skull Splitter has 3 now. On top of that, if we look at our Deep Pockets card here, it does say if this card is still on the marching order when the last enemy is defeated, the heroes gain 3 gold. We are rolling in gold. I'm going to grab 3 more gold, and this time, you know what? I'm going to give it to Dawnguard just because Dawnguard took the most damage. And besides, then everybody's got some gold and everybody's happy. Everybody having completed their turn will go to the end step. The only thing to do on the end step is to roll our die. Let's roll it up. I got a 2. See, I'm super glad I shut that door. We're going to take a moment and talk about our Echo token here. Our Echo token, when I rolled the first time, this is a little confusing and it kind of threw me for a loop for a second there. The way this works is this, like I said, it has to do with areas. So when the first time I rolled it, I placed it in the starting area here. At that point, these doors were still open. So this was connecting all of these together to make one area. When I rolled that first fail on the event roll, I should have activated our Echo token because it is technically all in line with this same area here. If you ever shut the door, the first time that it's placed, it wouldn't activate because now it's in this area and not in this area up here. Now I rolled again, so now it would come through into this area, though I did make a mistake by the fact that when this door was originally opened and I placed this token here for my first failed roll, at that point, this Echo token should have activated and we should have rolled to see what comes into this area here to either attack us or help us or who knows. But that should have happened while there were still enemies on the board, making it potentially a more tough encounter. So I apologize that I made that play incorrectly. At this point, we are going to activate this token, though. The door is still going to remain shut, but just bear in mind that this should activate the minute that it comes in contact with any full area. So if none of these doors are closed, it would have automatically triggered in this area, most likely affecting this character here because it would affect the closest character to the point where the Echo token originated. Just want you to know that that's how it goes. For our purposes here, we've moved way past that, and I apologize for missing how exactly that token works, but I hope I was able to explain it a little bit better here. We're going to see what spawns now, since this Echo token is going to be into our area, and the person it's going to affect is going to be Dawnguard, since it's the closest to where this Echo token is coming from. According to our adventure book, we have 4 cards that are part of our wandering monsters. You're supposed to mix them up and grab one at random, but as you can see some of the back of these cards. Again, I need to get maybe some type of opaque card protectors, and then I wouldn't know what any of these are. Of course, even though they are flipped double-sided, I could just slide them out of their sleeves and use them. I don't think it'd be that big of a deal. For this particular encounter, I'm going to just roll a d4 since I've got one. This is pretty awesome. I've got all the different kinds of dice. So rolled up and see we got a 3, which is going to be this card right here. Let's read and see what it says. It says, just an echo. Safe for now, but something is definitely out there. Echoes don't make themselves after all. Place this card next to the marching order for the remainder of this encounter. Subtract 1 from each event roll. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. So I'm going to place this card right here so we can remember we have to deal with this -1 each time. At this point, we would remove the Echo token, but I'm not going to because the first fail we had would have brought out that just an Echo, and it should have happened the first round. So this is the second time I've failed, so I'm actually going to place this back in here. That represents the 2 that I just rolled before we moved into the next part of our game turn. That one is going to be on the board now. We're only 3 cards left in our random monster deck. We have a giant rat, a giant spider, and a we don't know, which is kind of cool. That's going to be the end of the end phase, and we'll move into the next turn. And I shouldn't say we're moving to the next turn yet, because part of the end phase does take into account shuffling up these cards and placing them down to see who goes. Again, we have to look away in order to see who is going to go. We are going to go in this order: Night Feather, Skull Splitter, and Dawnguard. Night Feather does have 3 speed. I also want to mention that our Deep Pockets card doesn't say anything about putting it back into the vault, so I'm going to place this into the discard pile instead. We'll move 1, and then we'll use our second action to explore over into this area. And we'll draw a corridor card, because this is a room card. Remember, my goal is this treasure token up here. I really want treasure, 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 treasure. I like treasure. Another one of these 4-way paths here. So I can place it any way I want, and we're going to be resolving this type of encounter. We'll place our tile like this and move him into here. Then we'll go, we have to draw our card now. Let's see what befell our adventurers. Drawing from our challenge aspect deck, we have found Trapdoor. A trapdoor opens underfoot. This hero makes a target number 12 dexterity check. Wow, I got kind of lucky on this one. Action roll. If they pass, discard this event. All right, let's see if we pass our roll. I'm going to roll a d20 right here and see what happens. We need to get a 12 or higher. We got a natural 20. Oh my goodness, this is awesome. So I got the Bardsung symbol, which is a natural 20. So we are just going to discard this card. I'm not even going to read the rest of it. We'll have maybe come across it in another playthrough sometime, and then we'll see what happens when it actually befalls our characters. Skull Splitter is going to go next. 1 up here and then 2 over here, and he is also going to explore into this next room up here. We'll grab our next room card and see what we have found. We found a square-shaped room. Hopefully we can make it overlap that, and we can gain our treasure token. The treasure token would be placed onto the Bardsung symbol inside the room we're in. Again, I do not see any blue arrows here, so I can place this in either order I want, and we're going to have to deal with these 3 enemies inside this room. We'll place our tile just like this, which means we are going to overlap our token here. So this token is going to be placed onto the map right here. I'll be moving into that section right there, and we're going to have to deal with a battle one here and see what happens. We have, I should probably put our enemies out there too. We got to face some enemies first. Of course, this card decided to show off all the minis that I have yet to paint. We're going to be fighting one of our butchers. He's going to be up here. Or sorry, that is going to be one of our brutes. We do have another brute. I did actually get one of the brutes painted up, so here's one of the brutes painted up. And we're going to be painting the rest of these monsters up in my next live painting video. So please join me on that if you get a chance to do it. If you see this after that, I am sorry, but didn't get to see the painting of the dudes. But we have 2 brutes here. We also have a butcher as well. So we'll be able to place those 2 characters into the marching order. Here are the 2 cards, and we'll see more of them as we fight. Then we check out our battle thing here. Let's see what we get. We have found an ambush. Enemies flood out of the darkness, quickly surrounding you. Each hero rolls a d6. If a hero rolls a 4 or lower, place one of those types of enemies into the zone. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? This could get really bad fast. These are going to be our brigands. Let's roll for each of our characters. We'll start with Dawnguard, who is farther away from us. She rolled a 6, so that's fine. Then we'll check out Night Feather. Night Feather rolled a 4. That means there's going to be a brigand there. And then we'll roll for Skull Splitter. Skull Splitter got a 2, so there's 2 more brigands that are fighting now. We'll add 1 to this zone and 1 to this zone right here. Oh, this zone is going to be over here. Sorry, I apologize. I've got zones, there we go. The zones are signified by these cracks here in this tile, which is kind of cool. And of course, the zone is split by that there. I know they tried to be artistic in here, but again, I think it would have been a little bit easier to just show us what those zones are. But I'm okay. Like I said, they do have that chart that tells you everything you need to know about each of the zones, which really does help quite a bit. That's our challenges out there. Our group is ready. Let's check out our initiative cards and see what happens. We'll grab our Butcher, Brute, and Brigand, add them to our thing here, our group of cards. We'll give them a good old truffle shuffle here. Without looking, we'll see who is going to be going when, and hopefully it'll be our characters because we really want to go first. We have the Brute first. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, then Dawnguard gets to go. Night Feather, oh, then Skull Splitter. So our big guys are going near the end. Our Butchers, our Brutes are going first. If you talk about a big guy, I think the Brute's the big guy. We'll see what these guys do. Then we'll move to all these other characters. This is going to be awesome. All right, are you ready for some super cool fighting? Let's start with the Brute. Our Brute is going to start with this activation here. It is going to be Disciplined. He is going to attack a hero in the same zone, which is going to be, of course, Skull Splitter. Then the other one is going to charge into an engaged zone, which is where Skull Splitter is. So he is going to be attacked twice by these Brutes. Just to show the order of activation, this Brute is going to be attacking first because it will be able to appease the top of this card. Then the second Brute will attack by charging in. These Brutes do have a 2 speed, so for the time being we'll attack here, then this one's going to charge in. Interestingly enough though, if that first Brute hits, it's going to do a damage and push this character, so it'd go back to here. And at that point, the other one's going to have to charge, and it's going to move 1, 2, and it's not going to be able to make it, which is kind of interesting. We'll see how this all plays out. Now, our Brute's target number is 8, so there's a pretty good chance I might actually... Nope, I got a 7. And I don't have any way to block this, because he doesn't have anything to help him in his defense rolls. So he is going to take 1 damage and get pushed. So we'll grab our card, give it to our Skull Splitter, and then we're going to be pushed 1 square. Skull Splitter now has 2 damage, and right here during the, right here, warming up. Let's take a look at warming up. I think this is going to activate. If Skull Splitter makes an explore action, replenish 1 of the fate each time Skull Splitter suffers wounds in the following round. So I do get to replenish 1 of my fate tokens because I did suffer damage in the following round, and we're going to push him now. When deciding where to push Skull Splitter from this attack, I said I was going to push him here. There is a rule, though, that does say that you should always do what is most advantageous to the monsters if you're doing something for the monsters. So I'm going to push him here. That way it's in his square, and this Brute can still charge in and attack him. Our target number, again, is an 8. Let's see how we do. I got a 17. I don't get to add anything, so we were able to block that second attack. So on a miss, he is going to push him yet again, and I believe he's going to push him back into here because that'd be advantageous for that Brigand. Interestingly enough, you're going to notice there's still a banner token on the board. I have yet to remove this banner token, which might have been something I should have done. This banner token, from what I understand, does not count as just being part of in this zone. It counts for the whole map. So this Brute is going to gain stop and be put at the end again in the initiative order, meaning these 2 Brutes will activate once everybody else is done. Dawnguard is next. Dawnguard is just going to move twice. 1, 2, 1, 2. I could pin Dawnguard to the board, but then I would only be able to move 1, 2. I need to really get Dawnguard catching up here because we got a lot going on those tiles, and Dawnguard's really out of the battle right now. Night Feather is next. Night Feather, I think, is going to just stab the person right in front here and then use a throwing knife maybe to take out or at least wound one of these other enemies here. Our Brigand's target number is 9, so I need to get a 9 in order to hit this guy. I got a 9, plus I get to add 2, so it's 11. Our Piercing Strike does get to roll a d6 to see if we're able to do some critical damage to it. It got a 2. Its toughness is a 4, so I did not do it. Lucky for me, though, if we read here, it says, if the target is the only enemy in the zone, add +2 to the damage roll. So we did do the 4, so we did the 2 damage. We were able to take out one of the Brigands. We'll remove this one from the board, and at this point I get to replenish 1 of my fate tokens because I was able to critically hit a single enemy in the room. This guy is awesome at getting back these tokens, which is really good because Skull Splitter's really good at using them. I'm going to sadly use one now with my throwing knife. I think that's going to be my best plan here. I'm going to use my throwing knife and I'm going to target that Brute. Well, the Brute's only attack at an 8. Well, the Brigand's only attack at a 9. I don't know which one's worse. But if I can get the Brigands off the board, that means that's 1 card that's off the board. Maybe it's better to take out cards that actually damage some of these guys. I don't know what to do. I think we're going to attack the Brute. Let's go ahead and see what we can do. The Brute's target number is 8, which it doesn't seem too bad. The problem is this symbol up here means that, remember the other people that had vulnerability to melee attacks or physical attacks? This one has resistance to physical attacks, so I have to actually roll at disadvantage. So I'm going to be rolling 2 dice, and I have to take the worst one. So we're going to roll these up. I got a 13 and a 9. Both do hit, so I do 1 damage potentially, according to my throwing knife here. Well, actually, I've done 1. Then we're going to see if we can critically hit. I need a 6. This is going to be out of control. I don't think, nope, I didn't get it. On top of that, I do want to mention this down here. It says defensive line. If we look at this on the card, it says this enemy and other hobgoblin enemies in the same zone can't suffer more than 1 wound from a single attack. So that's bonkers bad. He's going to only suffer 1 damage, which is fine. I only did the 1 damage with my throwing knives, but going forward, again, that Skull Splitter's criticals aren't going to be doing a lot of damage to these guys because they just have so much resistance. Well, if you looked at the model, he's got armor everywhere. We'll place this token right down here next to that Brute. And he's got so much armor. Look at all this armor. No wonder why he's resistant to physical attacks. And notice I didn't take any magic heroes. So a lot of times when I'm facing a lot of armored foes, this could be a little bit tough because maybe this character may eventually get some kind of magical type attacks. We might have to look for those when we go to level our characters up. Or maybe this might get a magical attack. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe his axe might turn magical. Night Feather is done. We'll move over to Skull Splitter. There's a few options I have with Skull Splitter. One, I could just split some skulls. I could just attack these guys. The second action I have, or an idea I could have, is I could move into that square if I want to. In order to do that, I have to do a parting blow from the enemies in this square. The way that works is I have to roll against the target number of the highest one here. So it would be the Brigand of 9. If I'm able to beat the 9, I'm able to move. Otherwise, they're going to block that movement and not allow me to get out of there. I think we're not going to do that. I think we're just going to do the splitting of the skulls. I think that's the best bet because he's got skulls all over him. Why don't we just keep on gaining some more skulls to this miniature? This miniature is super cool. Look at all these skulls this guy's got. He's got them on he's holding one here. He's got a couple up here. He's got some on his little thing over here. He's got skulls on his axe. I painted him gold because I figured he's not putting a real skull in his axe. Who knows? Maybe he did put a real skull in his axe. This guy's out of control. I'm going to attack the Brute with my Wild Swipe. We're going to attack first with this one and see how it goes. With a target number of 8, I will roll 2 dice and take the worst one. I got a 14 and a 3 plus 3 is 6. So that's not enough to hit this target. That's too bad. We're going to attack again. We're going to hit the Brute again with Frenzy this time. I'm going to have to pay my fate token in order to do that, but that's okay. We'll roll up our 2 dice and take the worst one. I got an 11 and a 5 this time, but the 5 plus 3 is enough to hit. Let's see if we critically hit him, even though it really doesn't matter. I got a 6, so it does critically hit, which would do 2 wounds, but because of the defensive line, it's only going to do 1. But this Brute has already taken 1 damage, so we're going to abide by the card here, and after taking 2, he's going to heat up. So we're going to flip this card. And now, the next time I'm able to do 2 damage, we're able to take him out. And notice he lost that ability down here. Interestingly enough, your question now is going to be, well, what about that other Brute? You didn't do any damage to it. That's correct. But according to how this game is played, and from what I understand, if you're able to heat up one of the enemies, the other enemy also heats up as well. And so I didn't actually have to do the 2 to that one. And on top of that, if I would have had 1 wound already on that other Brute and made this one heat up, that Brute would only have to take 1 more damage and it would die. It's an interesting system, but instead of putting multiple cards out there, this is just a cleaner and easier way to do this, though it is a little bit weird in a way. Skull Splitter has exhausted. We'll move to the Brigand. I could have potentially decided to continue with Frenzy. Since I did hit with that, I could have chained that attack, but I'm not going to. We're going to go ahead and move into this Brigand's turn. This Brigand is going to attack the hero in the same zone with this symbol here. It is Ferocious, so it will attack Skull Splitter from where it sits. The Brigand's target number is a 9. It got a 3. I failed my defense roll. So I'm going to be taking yet again another wound for Skull Splitter. Skull Splitter is now at 3 wounds. Our Butcher will go next with 3 movement, and it is going to use this symbol here, and it says Never Forgets. When a hero defeats this enemy, they place the Grudge token on their dashboard, and that's going to deal with the type of card here. It says Vengeful. It'll attack the hero with a grudge token. There are none. Charge the hero with the grudge token. Are none. Attack hero in the same zone. Not going to happen. Charge the closest hero. So with my 3 speed, I'm going to move 1 speed into this area here, or actually this zone, and attack Skull Splitter with our Butcher. This guy is a little rough. He's got an 11. Let's see how this goes. I got a 10. So it did miss me. It needed an 11. But even when it misses, it still does damage. So I'm going to be bleeding now according to this symbol. We'll place this token right here. He is now bleeding, which means that I'll be subtracting 1 from the event roll for each hero that suffered this condition. I will be able to discard this when my heroes decide to rest. So on top, this plus this is absolutely terrible. We're probably going to be moving this Echo token every turn. The Butcher is exhausted. We'll move to the Brute's turn next. His AI has changed. He is now ferocious. He will attack the hero in the same zone. So again, Skull Splitter is just getting mauled. The target number on the Brute has changed to a 10 from an 8. We'll see if we can block it. No, we do not block it. So we take a hit, we're going to take 1 damage, and we're going to get pushed. And we're going to get pushed right over to the other Butcher. So that other Butcher is going to make this same attack at a 10. And I got a 4. Oh my gosh, I'm just not taking it. I'm not doing well anymore. So I'm going to take another wound. We are at 5 wounds for Skull Splitter. We need to get some help to him, and we need to get some help to him now. He got hit so many times. He's going to get pushed right back to the square that he started from, as well as taking that 1 wound from the second Brute. Our Brute will exhaust, and we'll move into the end step. So we're just going to roll our event because there's nothing else that's going to happen during the event. I got a 5, and I have to subtract 1 from my bleeding, and I also, I believe, subtract 1 from here. Place this card next to it, subtract 1 from each event roll. So 5, 4, 3 means, oh, it's a 3, which means nothing happens. The marker does not move. So our Echo token will remain right here. I'm super excited for that. There is one thing I have to mention. When I closed this door, it takes you an action to close the door. If you ever decide to try to close a door while there are enemies in the initiative order, and at the time of using this door, there were still some more monsters on the board, you have to spend one of your toolkits. So I do have to exhaust this toolkit token in order to have closed the door back when those enemies were on the board. If there aren't any enemies, of course, you can close it without using a toolkit. With that done, we are going to remove our exhaust tokens here, take all of our cards, flip them over, give them a good old truffle shuffle, and hopefully save Skull Splitter because he's getting absolutely brutalized out there. We'll give these a good old truffle shuffle and see how it goes. I need Dawnguard to go first. Well, Night Feather, that's okay. Oh, Skull Splitter's going to go too. That's good. Then we have the Brigands. Hopefully I can take that Brigand out then. The Brute, the Dawnguard, and then Butcher. Dawnguard's going to have to take out that banner because otherwise then the Brigands were going to go to the stop. They're going to go before this. Okay, that's going to be too bad. It's going to be pointless to take out that banner because the Brigand will already have given the ability of stop before Dawnguard can do it. Unless I want to bring Night Feather back there to do it. If I bring Night Feather back to do it, I think things will be bad. Here's the situation. We could spend Night Feather's entire action to move back here and take out this banner, meaning this guy would not activate twice. I'm not too worried about the Brigand activating. I'm more worried about those Brutes. We need to take those Brutes out. We need to take those Brutes out fast. How we're going to do this, I don't know how we're going to do this. I needed him not to go there. Skull Splitter needs to swing his axe and just destroy something is what we need to do here. I think we're going to use Night Feather to move in and do a piercing strike. The reason I'm moving in is a lot of the cards have to talk about attacking the closest hero or the hero in your zone or something like that. And Night Feather is before Skull Splitter, so that would be the tiebreaker, would be the initiative order. Unless, of course, there's something else that's going to attack Skull Splitter. Hopefully there's not, because Skull Splitter only has like 2 health left. Once I'm there, I am going to use, I guess my piercing strike is really all I have. I could use taunt. This is another option I have. Taunt would potentially allow me to dodge and then take one of the characters with me as I dodge out of the square. It's an interesting thing here. It says, if this attack hits after resolving the effects of the target can be placed in the same zone as the hero. So I could taunt potentially one of these characters back down to here or back over to here. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to taunt one of them back over to here. That way I for sure will be attacked by that creature. And then he can concentrate on trying to take out all the rest of these. I'm going to use my taunt. That's going to be fantastic. We're going to taunt the butcher. So let's see if we can taunt him. Actually, I'm going to pull him this way, I think is going to be the plan. But first we have to hit. We need to get an 11 in order to hit the butcher. We got a 19. That's enough to hit with our taunt, which is fantastic. So we did hit, which means I am able to dodge. If I can get a critical, that'd be fantastic. His toughness is 4. I need a 6. I got a 3. I did not get anything better than that. It does because I don't get any bonuses to my damage with taunt. So I did hit, which means I'm able to dodge. I don't do any damage though. I'm going to dodge back to this square, and I'm going to take the butcher with me. I'm going to taunt him right into that square. I don't have to make the roll because dodge says that I'm able to place the character as opposed to moving the character. Night Feather is done. We'll move on to Skull Splitter. Skull Splitter needs to destroy some dudes. I'm going to attack this guy with our Wild Swipe. Our brute has a target number of 10. Let's see if we hit him. I got a 16 plus 3. It's a 19. Let's see if we're able to critically hit this guy. I got a 6, so that's way better than the 4 that he has. So that is enough to take him out because his value over here is a death symbol, which is fantastic. So we've been able to take off one of the butchers, or brutes, sorry, but since this one's painted, I'm going to remove the gray one and replace him with the painted one because it looks so much better when there's painted miniatures on the table. For my second action, I think we're going to use Frenzy. I don't see why I wouldn't. I'll have to spend one of my fate tokens, meaning we only have one left up there. The other option I was thinking was that I could potentially move over here. I'd have to try to break away from this guy, or use this character to do a parting blow, but I'm not going to do that. I think it's just best to remove some people from the board. So we're going to split this guy's skull. Roar! With our Brigand, we're looking for a value of 9 or more. I did hit. Now let's see if we're able to do that critical wound. That would be fantastic. I got the 4. That's exactly what I needed. And of course, our card, Frenzy, is going to be able to do 2 damage with our critical hit. And I could chain this if I want. There's nobody else to hit. It's going to kill this character. I'm going to gain 1 gold because now all of the characters that deal with this card are off the board. We'll remove this model from the board and gain 1 more gold. We'll exhaust Skull Splitter, and our Brute is going to be next, followed by Dawnguard, and then that Butcher. And the Butcher is now ferocious. It's going to attack a hero in the same zone. Nope, it's going to charge into a hero in an unengaged zone. That's going to be Skull Splitter. He's going to charge right in here and attack. This Brute needs a 10, or I should say I need a 10 to block this, and I got a 9! Oh no! So we are going to take 1 more damage. We are at 6 damage now with Skull Splitter, who has a total health of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 damage. Lucky for us, none of these are serious wounds. They're all this symbol here, so I'm not taking any serious wounds. This could be really bad. The worst part about that is the first enemy to go, so I'm going to have to do that stop maneuver where he's going to stop right here, and he is going to attack again, potentially taking out Skull Splitter. We could lose a character in the first game. Dawnguard is going to go next, and I think Dawnguard is going to move and attack. I lied. Dawnguard is going to use 1 action to remove this. Just in case I want to get that out of here, then Dawnguard will move 1, 2 into that zone right there. We'll place an exhaust token on Dawnguard and move to the Butcher, who has the Vengeful card. Our Vengeful card states, attack a hero with a grudge, charge a hero with a grudge, attack a hero in the same zone. So the hero in the same zone, we have these 2 in the same zone, and since this person is at the top of the marching order, we are going to attack Night Feather. We'll roll our d20 and see how it goes. I got a 5. I failed miserably. So if we look at the Butcher is going to do 1 damage and bleed on a hit. So we'll give 1 damage to Night Feather, and Night Feather is also going to take a bleeding token, which remember is going to be -1 when it comes to our event rolls. So now we're at -3, so the only way we can ever successfully pass a roll is on a 6, and then that's going to be it. That's the end of the Butcher. The Butcher can go away. The Butcher can go far, far away. The writing is potentially on the wall for our team here. The Brute is going to go next. We're going to just exhaust him right here. He's going to attack the hero in the same zone. We have a 50-50 chance of making it out alive. Yes, we did. We got an 18. Oh, I shouldn't say we're out of this alive. We're still fighting. Our Skull Splitter is not dead. He was able to block the attack. Here's our board state where we sit. We've got our three characters here. We have a butcher left and a brute left. We still have that treasure that I want to pick up, and we have to roll now to see what happens during the event phase. We got a 3, so that is going to move this token into the next area, which is all of this map. So once that happens, it's going to hit these characters here. Night Feather is still in the front of the marching order, so that's going to be, if this thing targets a character, it will be Night Feather. We have these 3 cards left for our Wandering Monsters, so we'll roll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and see what is going to befall our characters. We got a 4. The Giant Rats are going to enter this encounter. Here's our Giant Rat. I'm working on him. I haven't gotten him fully painted up yet, but I got at least kind of his face done a little bit. I still have to work on the fur and, of course, the entire base of this monster. But we're going to put this monster right here, and now this creature has entered the combat. I will be removing the Echo token. This is absolutely awesome. We are running, or not running, we're fighting for our lives here. I'm going to pick up all of our cards here, give them a good old truffle shuffle. We're going to look away and see if we can get some of our characters to go first. That would be awesome. We'll just give them a good old truffle shuffle and see what befalls our heroes. All right, the first person that's going to go is Night Feather. That's awesome. Followed by Dawnguard. That's great. Oh, then we got to take that brute out before it attacks Skull Splitter. Look at all the bad guys go, and then Skull Splitter. Oh no, this could be really, really bad. If we look at the Giant Rat, this Giant Rat will not die if it gets attacked. It's going to flip its card. I don't know what the backside is. I haven't looked at it. The Butcher will die if I'm able to do the 2 damage to it. The Brute will also die if I do the 2 damage to it. So we have to find a way to probably take out both of these guys. The Giant Rat is something we're going to have to deal with. There are a lot of symbols down here. The first one we have is our powerful attack. That's the one where I have to roll disadvantage on my defense when I get attacked by this creature. Good thing it's only a 7. The second symbol here is pulse. Once attack is resolved, the hero attacks each enemy in the same zone as the target. The enemy attacks every hero in the target range. That's terrible. Good news, the range is 0. And these are the AI cards it's going to use. This is the type of character it is. And it is going to flip its card if it gets... Oh man, these Wandering Monsters are no joke. All right, we'll see what we can do. Night Feather is going to go first. Night Feather is going to attempt to taunt our Butcher. I've got a plan. Not sure if it's going to be great. We'll find out. Our target number will be an 11 for the Butcher. Let's see if we hit him. We got an 18 plus 2 is a 20. We're going to see if we're able to critically hit him. We got a 2. We did not critically hit him. That's okay. According to our taunt card here, a hit is enough to be able to do a dodge, which then I can take him with me. And we're going to take him right into this square over here. Now I've singled him out. We're going to use our Piercing Strike at this time to be able to hopefully critically hit him and destroy him. Again, our target number is an 11. I got a 9, 10, 11 exactly because I get plus 2 with my dexterity because it's a rogue. Now we're going to see if we can critically hit with our Piercing Strike. I got a 3, which is not enough to get the 4, but our Piercing Strike allows us, if the target is the only enemy in the zone, to add plus 2 to the damage roll. So this is a 5. So I am able to do the 2 for the critical wound, which is going to kill the Butcher, give us 2 gold, and again, I get to dodge. This rogue is super cool. Get this gray miniature off the board, dodge back into there, and gain myself 2 gold, which means we have quite a bit of gold. I'm going to discard 3 of it that our Dawnguard has and give myself a 5 chip. Good work, Night Feather. That was absolutely awesome. At this point, we'll move into Dawnguard's turn. Dawnguard has a few things that this character could try. I think the first thing we are going to use is we are going to again use our Steadfast. And because Night Feather was able to destroy a character in the same zone or by itself, I'm able to refresh one of my fate tokens, so we're back to 2. I'm going to use it to go back down to 1. At this point, I'm able to pin Night Feather to this location right here. This character will be going first next time. That's going to be absolutely epic. I'm super excited. This pin thing is awesome. I'm a huge fan of Dawnguard. Dawnguard's next maneuver is Dawnguard is going to use a Guiding Strike. And we're potentially going to be able to push the enemy out and do some damage. We'll see how this all goes. I've got 0 range with Dawnguard, so we're just going to attack that character in this zone with Guiding Strike. Our giant rat's target number is 7. Let's see if we're able to hit. We got 13 plus 2 actually is 15, so he hit. Now we're going to see if we can do a critical wound. Our die is only a d6. I need a 6 in order for this to happen. Nope, I got a 1. That's okay. If we look at Guiding Strike now, on a hit, I'm able to push the character and I'm able to do 1 damage. On top of this, it says if this attack hits, another hero in the same or an adjacent zone gains Bless. So I'm going to be able to give a character Bless. On top of that, I have a power called Savior on Dawn Guard itself. It says when this hero attack pushes an enemy out of a zone containing another hero, replenish 1 fate token. So I do get to replenish a fate token. We now have 2 fate tokens, and I'm going to push this creature. It's not going to matter where I really push this creature because it's going to come charging back in. Anyway, I'm going to push it right to there. Totally fine. I do get to regain a Bless token for Night Feather. Dawn Guard is going to become exhausted, and we're going to give our Bless token to Night Feather, which allows Night Feather to gain advantage on the next action roll. Then I'll be discarding this token. So not only is Night Feather pinned, meaning this character will go first, I get advantage on my first action roll that I do, which can be Sweetness. Oh, hopefully I can take something out with that. Brute is going to go next. Brute is ferocious. I'm really worried about this. I could have potentially taunted Brute out of the Skull Splitter's space, but being able to do so much damage and taking out that character I think was way better. We're going to use Ferocious on our Brute, who is going to make an attack against a hero in the same zone, which is Skull Splitter. It's a 50-50 chance that something bad is about to happen. Never tell me the odds. Let's see how we do. Oh, I got a 19. So we were able to block that attack by the Brute. That's awesome. Skull Splitter is still alive. It is now the giant rat's turn. The giant rat has 2 different attacks. The first one is Devour. It says, at the start of the turn, if this enemy is in the same zone as 1 or more other enemies and there are no heroes in the zone, it defeats an enemy in the zone with the lowest initiative. So in other words, it just goes and attacks it and eats it. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. That's amazing. If this enemy defeats another enemy, its turn ends and the other behaviors are not resolved. Oh, that would have been kind of an interesting tactic to use. I didn't know that's how that worked because I haven't ever played against the giant rat before. We do have our Ferocious though. That's going to be the next one. A same zone or hero in an unengaged zone. So this rat is going to come back in and attack Night Feather with its attack. But it is going to have a pulse attack, which means it's going to attack every person in the same zone. So both of these characters are going to be attacked by this giant rat. Our value is 7, our target number here. I'm going to do these all as one roll. I've got a lot of dice I'm about to roll, but I just want you to know how Pulse works. Pulse works where once the attack is resolved, so technically I should attack Night Feather first. Once that's resolved, the enemy attacks every hero in their attack range. So the range is 0, so the only other person in the attack range is Dawn Guard. So instead of resolving that attack and then rolling for Dawn Guard, I'm just going to roll all the dice at once, since those are the only 2 that are actually targeted by this attack anyway. Night Feather is going to be the black dice, and Dawn Guard is going to be the, like, I don't know, Bard dice? I'll call them Bard dice. And if anybody's wondering where I got these dice from, as opposed to the black ones that come in the set, these were part of the Kickstarter as part of, I believe it was part of the all-in pledge, or you could have got them separately as a stretch or an add-on if you wanted to. We're going to roll these up. It's a 7 that I'm looking to try to block this attack from. He was able to block it with an 18 and 11, 11 being the lowest. This is a 6. I get to add 1 to it, so it's a 7. I think it was a 4 before that, and I think it tipped over. So we're just going to take the damage. I think it was a 4, and then it actually tipped over while I was talking about Night Feathers. So we're going to take 1 more damage to Dawn Guard. Dawn Guard is up to 3 damage. This character can only take 2 more, and it will die as well. Our giant rat is now exhausted. It is now skull splitting time. I don't know how many times I'm going to say that, but I love it every time I do. I'm going to use my Frenzy attack. No, I'm going to use Wild Swipe. I'm going to use Wild Swipe on this one because it's not going to cost me a Bardsung token or a Fate token, and we'll see if we can take him out. I need a target number of 10, and it no longer has that ability where I have to roll disadvantage. We'll roll this up. I got a 1. A 1 is terrible. Okay, one thing good about a 1 is even though you miss, you still get to replenish one of your Fate tokens when you roll a 1 or a 20 on anything. So I do get to replenish one of my Fate tokens. Funny thing is, I'm about to use it now in order to attack with my Wild Swipe. My wild swipe is going to attack next, and I need to hit with this thing. Let's do this. I got a 13 plus 3 is 16. That is enough. Let's see if we're able to critically wound this, this brute. I got a 10. Zeros are considered 10s, so that is enough to go over his toughness. I did my 2 damage according to my critical hit with that. That's going to give us 2 more gold because all the brutes are off the board. Having defeated that character, we're going to take 2 of these, or 1 of these out here, and put in a 5 token. We've got 7. That's pretty awesome. I do want to mention, since we're here at Skull Splitter and he's on death's door, he has 6 wounds here. The way healing works in this game is you could either choose to heal a face down card, or if you're told to heal a wound, you could choose to take a serious wound and flip it down, meaning you'd still have that many wounds, but you wouldn't have to suffer the effect of the serious wound. If you do ever take more damage than you have of your grit, you'll have to use one of these potions. This potion will heal you back to full and remove any status ailments that you have. You have 3 of these potions at the beginning. If you ever come to a point where you don't have any of these potions and you take your 7 grit, you have lost the encounter and you go to the maintenance phase, which is near the end of the encounter, and it's in between the different adventures. There is a way to prevent that, and that's by using firewood. You could at any point in a zone, or in an area, remember the area is the big area, the large part of the game in between different doors. If there are no enemies in an area, you can choose to use firewood, flipping it over and creating a camp area where you can then heal 1 wound, and that's the end of the round, so you'd go to the event phase. I know you're saying 1 wound, what does that do? So Skull Splitter loses 1 wound, big deal. But if he does, say you have lost all of your potions, and at that point you lose all the grit, all your characters go back to the campfire token instead of losing the actual scenario that you're playing, or that mission you're playing, which is super cool. It's kind of like creating a save point inside the dungeon. So hopefully we never have to deal with that, but that is one way to prevent all your characters from just losing the scenario. So if you ever are getting close, dangerously close to losing all these, and all your characters are close to death, it's probably best to try to find a place where you can set up a campfire so you can at least save your game as you go through the adventure. If you do have to use the campfire token, you would heal, again, all of your wounds and your status effects that you have. You would place this token that would normally be out on the dungeon back up in the exhausted area where all the other tokens are. And if at that point you die again, you would have to restart it. You could have multiple campfires inside the dungeon that you're running through. So if you want to set up a couple, maybe that might be a good idea. Who knows? But anyway, I just want you to make sure that you understood how healing works and how this game has, like, potentially you could die in it, or how you're able to keep yourself alive in this game. So this game is really super cool and has a lot of neat, really cool mechanics. But back to our cards here. Skull Splitter has completed his turn. He is now going to be exhausted. We were able to destroy that brute, so we're going to take him off the board. Oh, these guys look super cool. I really do dig the models they have in these. They're really cool poses. I like them. All right, that's the end of our turn. I'm going to remove these tokens. I am not going to shuffle his card into this roll here. We're going to, I don't have to do that yet. I have to roll my die. I have to roll to see if that thing's going to come out. The Echo token. I'm going to roll it up. I got a 5 minus 1, 2, 3. So 5 minus 3 is 2. We are going to be placing this Echo token in the starting location of the map. Now that's not going to affect our area yet because we did shut that door. Now we're going to take our cards and shuffle them up and see who goes in what order. Hopefully we can take out this giant rat and move on before I lose. Hopefully that's the plan here. We'll go ahead and flip them over. Skull Splitter is going, then the giant rat, and then Dawnguard. But remember, Night Feather is going to go first. I'll remove our pinned token. Night Feather is going to start by taunting this rat. Let's get him into the square where we can actually do some major damage to him. So I'm going to attack this guy and attempt to taunt him over into that square. Good news, because of our Bless token, I am going to gain advantage on this attack. So we're going to roll up 2 dice and try to get a 7+. We got a Bardsung symbol. So all of our Fate tokens are going to be available to us. That's going to be monstrous. We were able to hit this character. Now let's see if we're able to wound the monster or do a critical hit to the monster. I need a 6. I got a 5. Oh, and I don't get to add anything to it. This doesn't allow us to do that. But it will allow me to move this creature. And a hit only allows me to dodge. We'll dodge up to here and bring him with. We're going to taunt him right into that location. At this point, I'm going to discard my Bless token, and we're going to move into our second action, which is Piercing Strike. Let's see if we can do a critical hit and do 2 damage to that guy. That'd be awesome. Again, I need a 7 in order to hit him. Let's see how we do. I got a 6, but I do get to add 2 because it's a dexterity-based attack. So I did hit. I got 7. 8. We got an 8. Now we're going to see if we can wound him. He's not alone, so I don't get the bonuses of this. I have Skull Splitter in the same spot, so I do need a 6. If I didn't have Skull Splitter, that would have been a critical wound and done 2 damage, and I could have dodged. Alas, we're able to hit, and so we are just going to be dodging out. Notice Nightfeather's really good at being able to single target characters and get them out of there, and bring them and stab them over and over again. He's not very good if he's in a group of enemies at all, which is okay. But for what we're trying, my purpose and my plan here, that's okay that all this happened. Again, we're going to dodge right over to that location. Being in the location where our treasure chest is, I'm going to remove the token, and we are going to draw a card from the Lost Treasure deck. And this is going to be for Nightfall, but we could mix this up and give this to other characters. But I'll show you what we get here first. What do we get? We got this, and I'll talk about it. We got a Rune of Agility. When this hero suffers a wound, they can dodge. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. It's awesome for Skull Splitter to get out of the places that he gets attacked in. This character is now going to gain this Rune of Agility. There are 3 different types of treasures in this game. There are runes, there are gemstones, and then there's just some kind of consumables. Gemstones are going to be able to be slotted into your weapon, and based on the number down here is how many you can have. On top of that, you can only have 1 color of a certain gemstone attached to it. So if I could attach 3 to this, let's say, I could only attach 1 green one. Now this is a rune, not a gemstone, so I can't attach it to one of my weapons. What I can attach runes to is my armor. So I could attach this to this one, but this has a 0. So I can't even slot this in to this person's characteristic cards. On top of that, I've just noticed that Skull Splitter has 2 weapons, so he can only slot in gemstones, which kind of makes sense. And sadly, so does Nightfeather. Nightfeather only has weapons, so Nightfeather can only slot in gemstones. So sadly, from at this point in time, this is a pointless item to have found, which is really sad. If we were able to upgrade Dawnguard's armor to another card, I'm guessing that one would have rune slots for this rune right here if I wanted to put it on. But for now, Nightfeather is going to take this and put this with his rest of his stuff. You might as well keep it. We might be able to put it on somebody at some point. And that's the end of his turn. It is now Skull Splitter's turn, and it's time to take this giant rat completely out of the game. I'm going to start with my Frenzy card, and I do want to explain my chained attack again. So what we're going to do is we are going to pay our fate symbol to attack with Frenzy. So I am going to use that right there. If I'm able to hit, I can chain this into another chained attacker I want, or I can do the same one again. In order to do that, though, I have to spend another fate symbol. It has been confirmed that that does not mean that I have to pay this as well. So it wouldn't cost 3 fate to do this card, chain it, and activate that card again, because it's not the card, you're doing the attack. I hope that makes sense. So it's only going to cost me technically 2 fate symbols in theory to attack this character twice with Frenzy with that chained attack. Of course, that means we have to actually hit this guy first in order to chain the attack. So I need a 7 or more. I got a 14, so that's plenty enough to actually hit this character, or this monster. Now we need to see if we wound it. The toughness here is 6. I get to roll a d10. I got a 3 that did not critically hit it. I only do 1 wound. That's okay. We're going to do our chain attack now and see if that hits. I got a 5 plus 3 is 8, so that is enough. We're going to roll to see if we critically wound it. We did not. We're only going to do 1 wound to this giant rat, which is enough to flip the card. We'll flip it over. This rat is now pumped up, I guess you could say. It's got a 7. I am going to now use my second action to use Wild Swipe. Wild Swipe is going to attempt to hit. It needs a 7 or better to hit. I got a 6 plus 3 is 9. That's plenty to hit. Now we're going to see if we can hit its toughness, which has dropped to a 3. So we could potentially... Oh no, I only need 1 wound again. Oh no, this is going to be bad. I was really hoping I could have took this guy out in 1 shot. So this rat now has 1 wound. We'll exhaust Skull Splitter here, which I was hoping would take out this giant rat, but he did not. It left with 1 wound, so it is going to attack with Ferocious. And of course, that means he is going to attack the hero in the same zone, which is Skull Splitter. This could be bad. I only need a 7, though. So let's see if we can do this. I got a 10. That's enough. Okay. Oh, he's hanging on by dear life. He did not get wounded by the rat. We'll move into Dawnguard's turn. Thank you, Giant Rat, for not hitting us. He does have that pulse attack. I do want to bring that to your attention, though it is only 0 range, and that means it would only have hit Skull Splitter anyway, but he was the one that was actually attacked. So we'll move into Dawnguard's turn. Come on, let's take this guy out. Dawnguard will move into this square or this zone here and attempt to take out the Giant Rat using our Guiding Strike. I only need a 7 to hit. I got a 16 plus 2, so that's an 18. We can see if we are going to critically hit this, but it's not really going to matter. I did critically hit it. Its toughness is only a 3. So if you look at the critical hit on our Guiding Strike, is we get to push it, do damage, and we get to gain back one of our fate tokens. Though this thing is dead, so pushing it really doesn't make that big of a deal. Though I could get another fate token back because of Dawnguard's ability here. When this hero's attack pushes an enemy out of a zone containing another hero, replenish 1 fate token, but I don't think you can push a dead guy. So we're just going to kill him off, and that's the deal. Of course, killing the Giant Rat means we do get treasure. We get so much, 0. I've noticed that the wandering monsters we have in our pool here don't give us any gold, and that's mainly because otherwise you could probably just sit around and just keep attacking these guys over and over and over and over and over and just keep gaining gold. So they don't want you to do that. They want you to keep on moving and keep on having fun. We'll remove the Giant Rat from the board. This ambush card is gone. This ambush card only would activate immediately and then get discarded, so it didn't need to sit out here the whole time we were fighting. That's the end of our turn. We'll take our cards, shuffle them up, and go on to the next round. But first, we have to roll for our event. This is going to be tragic. I got a 4, so that means we're going to take our Echo token. It's going to move into this zone, and it's going to affect one of these 2 characters. And Skull Splitter, of course, is sitting first in the initiative order. We have 3 cards left in our Wandering Monster card deck. We'll roll our die and see what we get. We got a 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be the up, down, upside down card. Which one is it? It's going to be Overactive Imagination. Your mind must be playing tricks on you, hearing noises that aren't actually there. Discard this card. Oh, that's so good. So we don't have to worry about these 2 monsters coming in. We do have to discard this, so that does mean next time, no matter what, one of these 2 monsters is going to be entering into our zone and taking us out. But of course, we'll have a little bit of time before that Echo token will make it to us. With that complete, we will take all of these, shuffle them up a little bit, and see how it goes. We'll turn away so we don't see, give them a truffle shuffle, and our first character is going to be Dawnguard, followed by Night Feather and Skull Splitter. There we go. Dawnguard will use a move action to move 1, 2 up to there. This right here, I do want to mention, I haven't talked about these before, also found on this tile here. Those are secret passages. You can open them up to reveal new areas in the dungeon. It's just another way to move around without having to just follow the doors. Though if you want to use one of those, you do have to spend a toolkit in order to find and use that secret door. We're going to use an explore action up here. We're moving from a room into a corridor, so I'm going to take my corridor deck, flip it over. We have found a battle goal here, and we have a lot of enemies here. But notice this, I do not have to put it a certain way. So let's go ahead, grab this tile, place it down, and put down some enemies. Interestingly enough, we're not going to have enough room to place this. It's going to go off the board, and that's exactly what you want to do. You want to go past this line right here. There's a lot of interesting lines up here. I don't know why they made it exactly like this, but all these are just artwork. This leather strip right here, that is the edge that you're trying to overlap with one of your tiles to get out of the dungeon, or out of this particular area of the quest. So we're going to place this here. There's going to be a stair token that is going to go right there, and we're going to place down a raider, a brigand, and a brute in this room. On top of that, we're going to be drawing a battle challenge deck card, and we have to get to this location. This is technically the final location that we're going to be finding. I could choose, now that I've found this, to go other directions here if I really want to explore more. But our goal is technically to get to that tile right there. On this particular tiles, heroes cannot make explore actions. And if the hero is in the same zone as the stair token, I may spend an action to escape. When a hero escapes, they remove the model from the playing area and remove their initiative card from the marching order. When every hero has escaped, the heroes complete the encounter. I do get to move into this square, but I am not in the square where the staircase is at this point. So I'm going to have to survive another round because that character is out of action. Dawn Guard has no more actions. But I think I have a plan that's going to be able to get us onto that square and get us out of here as fast as I can. Instead of using the token, I'm going to use this cool 3D model here. It's probably not what you're supposed to use, but it's pretty sweet. So I'm going to have this raider standing right there on the stairs waiting for us. Our brute's behind it. It's going to be fantastic. I'm going to grab this card right here. This could, of course, foil all my plans. We'll see how this goes. Illusionary Trap. Several enemies ahead dissipate into thin air, then suddenly appear behind you. Roll a d6 for each enemy in the current tile. On a 1 or 2, place the enemy on the previous Bardsung square. Wow, that actually might even help us out. I can't believe that. That might be good. Let's start with several enemies. Roll a d6 for each enemy in the current tile. We'll start with the top one. Our brute rolls a, let's get it right, a 1. This is going to appear back here. Then we're going to roll for our brigand. Our brigand got a 3, and our character here got a 1. This is absolutely amazing. I can't believe I'm going to get this lucky. That's it. That was the illusionary trap. It instantly happens and then it goes away. So we'll discard that. Also, I have my fear of God that is going to happen. When this hero makes an explore action after placing enemies, place one enemy in the previous tile's Bardsung symbol. I'm going to place this guy there. Look at all these guys. They're all with Night Feather, which could be bad, but hopefully it's not. We'll find out. If I can get him to move first, that'd be awesome, because a lot of his cards have to do with dodging. And I could get him to dodge here and then move onto the stairs along with the rest of our guys. These guys will all come charging, but we can the next turn just use an action to get out. That'll be awesome. I have added them all to the initiative order. We're going to take the cards, flip them over, get a good old truffle shuffle here, and hopefully I might have to try to figure out a way. I might try to pin Dawn Guard to the front if I can, because Dawn Guard could take a lot of damage, where our Night Feather, and we know that Skull Splitter better not be first or we're in real big trouble here. All right, we'll shuffle them up and figure out who's first. Our Brute is first. Our Brigand is second. Oh no, Night Feather's going to take a lot of damage. Oh, Dawn Guard is third. Skull Splitter, Night Feather, and then the Raider. Well, sadly, that third position isn't probably the best place to be pinning myself. We'll have to see what we can do. But we have to start with that Brute. The Brute will be using the Disciplined card here, so it's going to attack the hero in the same zone, which is going to be Night Feather. I need to defend this with an 8. Let's see how this goes. I got a 3. That's not enough. It's going to be +1, so that's 4. I'm going to be taking my second damage onto Night Feather. That's absolutely terrible. I now have to push Night Feather. I guess it'd be advantageous to go over here. I don't really know where the best place to go for him would be. Though if I did push him here, that means these guys would probably come in. Oh, that's not Night Feather. Here's Night Feather. These characters would probably move on in, and that means it'd be tougher for him to get out. I think that's probably the best advantageous move. That's going to be it for the Brute. We'll move on to the Brigand, who is also ferocious. The Brigand is going to attack the character in the same zone. Then it's going to charge hero in an unengaged zone. So here's the heroes in an unengaged zone, and it's going to attack the one at the closest to the front. Oh, it's going to go after the one closest to the front. It can move 2 spaces. Would that mean it would charge Dawn Guard? Because Dawn Guard's closer in the initiative order. Or would it go towards the closest character? I believe it goes towards the closest character, so it's going to go over here and attack Night Feather. No, it's going to attack Skull Splitter. Oh no, that's really bad because Skull Splitter's next. This Brigand will be attacking Dawn Guard. It will try to move up to its speed value and target the character that is in an unengaged zone closest to the front of the initiative order, which would be Dawn Guard. Also, I want to make note that each one of these characters, when I was originally doing that last big combat, I was activating them a little bit wrong. The way that these characters activate is they're going to activate the most north character that can activate first. Then it's going to go around in a clockwise or in a compass formation. They're not going to activate based on these cards. When I was originally doing it, I think I was making the Brute that was in this square attack first. Then I had that one attack and try to charge in. So just be aware that the most north enemy in the initiative order that is going by this card will be using their behavior first, then so on and so forth. And like I said, I misdid that, and it should have, when I had my 2 different Brutes here, the first Brute should have attacked from up there first, then this one. So just be in mind, it's always north and then around. And I'll have made a subtitle in that part of the video so you'll know that. Our Brigand's target is a 9. We'll see if we do that up. I got a 6, 7. That's not enough. Dawn Guard's going to take another damage. Dawnguard is up to 3 damage as well. A lot of our characters are sitting at death's door. We have to get out of here. Dawnguard's next in the order. I have a Sun Shield. It says here, at the start of the encounter, place 3 devotion tokens on this card. This hero can spend devotion tokens in place of fate. I haven't done that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use penance. Place a devotion token in the same or an adjacent zone. Enemies in the same zone as the token reduce their speed to 0. Discard this token at the start of the hero's next turn. I'm going to place one of my devotion tokens right there. This is my plan. Let's see if it works. That's going to be the first action. The second action is I am going to use my guiding strike to see if I can hit that bandit. And this brigand, not bandit, I've probably been interchanging those words the entire time. I need to get a 9 or better. I got a 13. That's enough to hit the bandit. I'm going to roll a d6 to see if I'm able to critically hit this person. Nope, I got a 3. I needed a 4. That's totally fine. I'm going to do 1 wound, and I'm going to push this monster. We'll push the brigand onto the stairs, totally fine, and it's going to gain a wound token. Dawnguard is gone. It is now Skull Splitter's turn. Skull Splitter's going to run. 1, 2, 1, 2 to stand in the same space as these stairs here with that brigand. And that's all he's going to do. Nightfeather is next. Nightfeather has 3 speed. Nightfeather is going to move 1, 2, 3 to right there. And at this point, he's going to use, or she is going to use, a throwing knife. I'm going to have to spend one of my fate tokens, but that's totally fine. We just have to do 1 damage. So we're going to flip this fate token over. I'm covering my other ones with the with the board here, but that's okay. Let's see if we're able to take out this brigand. My target number is 9. We rolled an 11 plus 2 is 13. That's plenty. I'll roll a d6 to see if we're able to critically hit him. We needed a 4. We only got a 3. Totally fine. Our throwing knives are still going to do 1 damage, which is enough to take out that brigand. That brigand is removed from the board, so we are going to gain another gold coin that we'll place with Nightfeather. That's the end of Nightfeather's turn. Our raider is going to use the cautious card here, attack the closest hero. The 2 closest hero, either Dawnguard or Nightfeather. Dawnguard is higher up in the initiative order, so it has 2 range and will be able to attack Dawnguard. The character does not have to move. It's got 1, 2 range right to there. I need a 10 or better in order to block this. I got a 13. Yes, plus I get to add 1, so that's 14. Didn't hit. That's the end of the raider. It does have its retreat card, but all it's talking about is making sure you're not in the same space as one of the heroes, and we already are not. So we're going to remove our tokens and roll our d6 for our event step. Let's see what happens. We got a 1. That's like -4. We'll place down that echo token yet again into the starting space. So this will potentially move again into that same zone if we fail the event roll another time. We'll take all of our characters here, give them a good old truffle shuffle, and at this point I think we're okay, but I'm not going to be too sure about anything right now, and all of our guys are so close to being dead. We'll start with the raider. Oh, the brute! Look at this skull splitter, and all of our guys are going last. Oh no, this could be an interesting end to the game. Here's where it gets interesting. This raider is going to move here, lose all of its movement, and that's okay. What the problem is it's going to be able to attack a person. And the person it's going to attempt to attack is Skull Splitter. Oh my gosh, this could be really bad. Because Skull Splitter is 1, 2 spaces away. He's standing right here on these stairs. Maybe should have got him farther away if I could. I couldn't actually, now I think about it. So 1, 2 spaces away, he's going to attack from right there. At this point, I need to roll a 10 or better or we're in big trouble. I got an 8. Oh no, that's not enough. I'm going to take 1 damage. With that final damage card, we are going to be at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is enough to knock out Skull Splitter. We're going to remove our token and all of our damage cards and flip over one of our potion tokens. We only have 2 left, which is too bad. Maybe I should have gone and done a campfire when I had a chance over when we had nothing on the board for that short period of time. I just know we were so close to that ending that I wanted to keep going. That's it. That raider has done its job. The brute is next. Now I've set this up so the brute can't actually get to us. It's going to use its discipline card here to charge in an unengaged zone, which would be this one right here. It's going to move into here, but because of my penance token, it's not going to be able to move past that marker as far as I understand. Skull Splitter is next. He's going to use an action to get out of there. We're going to use Dawnguard to move up here, use an action to get out of there, and Nightfeather is going to move and get out of there as well. And we have survived barely the first mission in our playthrough. Once you make it through this part of the adventure, you're going to go into the maintenance phase, where we're going to go through the upkeep, gold step, and level up step. During the upkeep step, we get to remove all of our damage and any of these tokens that we had that were status ailments of any kind. So we do get to heal between missions. If you're entering the maintenance phase because you failed, the heroes will lose all of their gold in their stash, and you would be able to get at least one healing firewood toolkit and charm token back, but no more. You just refresh them until you have at least one in each area. That's Dawnguard, ready to go again. I have my penance tokens I really didn't use except for the end there, which was actually pretty decent. Nightfeather gets to heal the 2 wounds, and this is something I failed to mention while I was playing. When you do defeat the Butcher, it says down here, when this hero defeats an enemy, they place the grudge token on their dashboard. So I'm going to keep this grudge token, and on top of that, this grudge token does persist into the next mission. So you don't want to be getting these grudge tokens, or you got to find a way to get rid of them. The other things that also do not change is how many potions, toolkits, or firewood, or charms you have used during the adventure. I do get to keep my ruin, or I don't really know what we're going to do with it, because nobody has any armor they can put it on, but that's okay. We don't need to do anything for Skull Splitter because he just died. So he has nothing that's hurting him right now. The next step is the gold step. You can spend your coins to either unexhaust consumables, refresh your potions and firewood and toolkits and charms. You could also get anything from the Lost Treasure deck, and you could at this point unattach any of those runes or gemstones from anything you have, but I not have any of that. What they mean by unexhausting consumables is some consumables like this one, for example, has this little symbol down here. This means you could spend 3 gold during this gold step to be able to make this active again for the next mission we're going on. Or you can pay 7 gold to unexhaust any one of the tokens. I don't see why we wouldn't pay 7 to unexhaust this. That's a no-brainer. I'm just going to pay 7 to unexhaust this one as well. So we've spent all the gold we made on that adventure, but that's okay. Those will be ready for us in the next one. You could choose also to spend 10 gold to get one of the treasure cards from the Lost Treasure deck. Now remember, that's the Lost Treasure deck. So that's the one that we had to pick only 4 cards for from the beginning. It's not the Treasure deck, which is the giant treasure deck that we drew the 4 cards from. It's from the Lost Treasure deck, and it costs 10 to do that. We could, of course, keep any gold we want. We don't have to spend it all. We do get to carry it over if we wish to. The next part would be our leveling up. As you can see in the goals here, every encounter is going to give us 1 experience point, plus discovering a lost treasure is going to give us 1 experience point. So we completed encounter 1 and we found 1 lost treasure, so we have 2 experience points for each character that we can spend. Our first character, for example, is Dawnguard. Dawnguard could spend 2 experience points, one to raise up any one of these. I could spend 1 experience point to raise this up by 1. I could spend 2 to raise that up by 2 if I wanted to. On top of that, you could buy a new skill for 3, so I could save my experience points for the next game if I wanted to. Or I could level up one of these if I want to. For example, that steadfast power we have that I absolutely love. I could spend 1 experience points to level this up so that when I move this hero or another hero 1 space left or right on the marching order, and then the hero gains pinned. So this is such a more powerful thing. This hero or another hero on the same tile gains pinned. This one, I can move this hero or another hero 1 space left or right. It doesn't say anything about being on the same tile anymore. On the marching order, and the hero then gains pinned. That's out of control. That's super good. And remember, I could use this pretty much free with my things here. It says I could use the devotion tokens in place of fate tokens if I went to. So I could be using that steadfast almost every time I see somebody in an advantageous position, including, I believe, enemies. Hero or another. Oh no, it's only heroes. You can only work for heroes, which isn't bad. I could spend 1 experience point to do that. And then I could spend the other experience points to power up one of these things. The other option we have is I could power up Guiding Strike, which also would be really good. If you flip it over, Guiding Strike says add +1 to the hero's attack range during this attack. If this attack hits, another hero in the same or adjacent zone gains Bless, which means they would gain an advantage on the next attack. I don't know what to do. I'll let you decide for me. Should I go with leveling up my Steadfast, or should we take Guiding Strike and level up Guiding Strike? Oh my gosh, both of these are absolutely amazing powers. Now we can't do anything with Penance or with are fear of God, because both of them cost 3 in order to do it. So, or of course, we could level up one of our ability scores, but I think it'd be cooler to get one of these powers more powerful. At least that's my opinion. So either Steadfast or Guiding Strike. Let me know what you do for Dawn Guard. I'm probably going to have the same problem with each one of these characters. Every character I have has a way of powering up at least one ability or the other. I could power up my throwing knives, which is going to allow me to add +1 to the hero's attack range during this attack. On top of that, if I miss with throwing knives, I'll still be able to dodge on in, which is I think that's pretty good. And it's only going to cost me, or it's going to cost both to do that. If I wanted to, I could also power up Taunt, which would give me the ability, nothing changes on this, but it does give me the ability to add +1 range to this attack. And if the attack hits after the resolution of the effect, target is placed in the same zone as this hero. So I could potentially grab somebody from 2 spaces away now instead of 1, which could be beneficial, or in the same one, I should say. So this is going to have a range of 1. This would have a range of 1. So all these things, you'd be able to stand at least 1 space away and do something. Let me know what you think. Should I power up Taunt and save an experience point, or power up my throwing knives to give myself, an extra, be able to +1 range? So this would be a 2 range attack instead of a 1 range attack. Skull Splitters might be the most no-brainer here of all of them. I could power up one of these skills if I wanted to, or I could take Frenzy and power it up. Frenzy then gains this ability. If Skull Splitter was wounded by an enemy attack during this round, this attack does not cost fate. That sounds pretty awesome. But do remember, if I do use the chained ability on this, I would have to pay the 1 fate to still chain this. But I would no longer have to pay the fate to use this ability. I think this is a no-brainer. I'm going to pay the 2 experience points to power up Frenzy. The Wild Swipe, if I wanted to power that up, would give me, if Skull Splitter has 1 or more wound cards, the damage roll becomes empowered. That would allow my damage modifier die here to go from a D10 to the next highest die, which would be a D12. I don't know if that's going to be that great. It's only 2 more numbers that I could potentially get. On top of that, you can't go past a D12, so I could never go to like a D20, which would be absolutely bonkers good. Can't do that. So I think Power of the Frenzy is probably the best choice for Skull Splitter. We've completed our first node, so there is a story moment that is going to happen before we move into their second node, so let's take a look at 201. The smell of hobgoblins stings your nostrils. In the confines of these tunnels, their lair no doubt closes by. Yet, as you stand at the crossroads, unsure of what path to take, the mysterious stranger appears once more. You eye the hooded figure suspiciously. The motives of spirits twist like serpents when the mortal mind attempts to grasp them. In a whispered voice, the stranger speaks of treasures ahead, revealing the passage that leads to them, and yet doubt crosses your mind. If such riches do indeed await, why then has the creature not already claimed them? As the stranger fades once more into the shadows, you are each torn between the siren song of riches and the lure of noble battle. The choice is yours to make, but you will not be able to turn back once the die has been cast. According to what our old dwarf has scribbled out here on the map, I guess you could say, we could either choose to go down, I guess they're calling it a noble path. I don't know what that means, but I can read number 272, and we're going to be doing another dungeon delve with 1 treasure, just similar to what we just did. Or we could go down, well, I guess the path of riches, they call it, the path of riches. I'm using quotation marks there. It goes to 300, and then we're going to be doing, again, another dungeon dive with 3 treasures. So there are 2 possibilities that we can take. I'm not sure which one to go. I'm going to let my Patreons decide that for me. Please feel free to join. The link is in the description of this video if you wish to help make this decision. I would like to know what you think for our characters. I'm interested to see how you think I should level our characters up. So please put that in the comment section. I would love to hear about it. Before we do end, I do want to talk about these decks of cards that we have been using for our challenges and for laying out our dungeon. When it comes to going into the next round, you could choose to mix all this back together again, or you can leave them out until you're done with the complete encounter, the whole chapter from how I understand it. I think I'm going to leave it so that these have already been revealed, because it'd be really cool to see newer ones come out. Of course, if you shuffle these in, that means you're going to get other ones as well. One thing I did fail to do when I was looking at these is some of these challenges do have gold associated with them. So we are actually going to keep 1 gold because of that encounter. None of these over here had any gold on them, and I did have to remove this one and put it back into the vault from what we did. I am going to shuffle these decks together because that's not going to be too much of a difference, but I think it'd be really cool to see some new challenges as we continue. There you have it. That was Bardsung, the first chapter. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell symbol so you know when the next playthrough comes out for this great game. I will be continuing this game. I'm not stopping. I'm having an absolute blast. I'm loving it so much. I've been painting the miniatures, and don't forget, on my channel, we'll be doing live painting. That'll be coming up soon, and the first set of things we're going to be doing is some of the Bardsung miniatures. I know the ones we have painted so far on the channel we were able to use, and there were some that were painted. It's so hard to do that. It's like heartbreak. It's like stabbing myself to play with unpainted miniatures. I'm kidding, of course. We're going to paint up some of the other ones that we were using today, and maybe some of the ones that are going to be found in the future. So that is coming very soon. This is a fantastic dungeon crawler. I hope you enjoyed all the different mechanics that are in it, and there's so many other ones that are going to probably be unlocked as we play through it. We haven't even touched our weapons yet. Our weapons are probably going to grow in power. We have so many skills we can unlock. We can even cross class. Can you believe that? Oh my gosh, there's just so much going on in Bardsung. This is going to be super, super cool. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget, if you're interested in helping us decide what paths we should be going down, you can join my Patreon. On top of that, you can help me decide what we paint, what we play, and what games are going to be coming onto the channel in the future. I mean, we have Bardsung, and we have lots of other stuff coming as well. This is super cool. I'm excited to continue this adventure, and if you are as well, then I need you to meet me at the table.